Good morning and welcome to today's live show. If you're not tuning into this live, if this video is already posted and you're not here for the live show this morning, make sure to check into the last 15 minutes of this video, as we will be going over every stock that we cover on this channel for a little bit of a breakdown. So just skip ahead to the last 15 minutes. Remember that the course down below in the description is only 50% off. It is $100 for the next 4 days only, so make sure to get that. It will give you that bear market strategy, let you learn about these indicators, trade and see these indicators how I see them going forward. And then lastly, remember to join that Patreon, because we are going to be giving away one free one-on-one with me to a Patreon member at the end of April. So you do have the whole month of April to join, but it's good to join right away, because then you'll get weekly ranges for every stock that we cover. So your Nvidia, your AMD and everything like that, you'll get the weeklies, you'll get the monthlies as well. We're about to go into another month. We told you guys that March was going to be a little bit more sporadic. Look at this. Well, we're getting that sporadic price action this whole time. A lot of traps being set all around. And a lot of the time, these traps are happening when we are reaching a top. So we might be reaching a top. Will that give us a correction or a crash? For now, we're starting to see a gap higher. Okay, so overall, video last night really looked like we wanted to point down. That's why we were really paying attention to this area here. But this is where we were talking about Apple actually telling us, hey, there might be some bounce here. It's not necessarily breaking through this level. So we can say if it holds up, that would be a good sign. Same with AMD. AMD, if it holds up, that would be an okay sign here, as we are at that center line, right? We're right in the middle here, so we can see a positive day going forward. But if this just keeps rolling down into negative, then we're going to see that selling continue. So good morning as you trickle in. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Make sure to smash that like button. Good morning, I like anime to booster. Let's have a great day. I love it. New era GLD, another day, another dollar. Good morning, Rose and Matthew. Good morning. Welcome to the channel. I've already had one cup of coffee and now I have my second one. So I'm ready to stream for today. Hector. What's up, Hector? There's my soccer buddy. But as we go forward, I'm just going to do a little bit of a breakdown as we're, trickling in this morning. Dave, what is up? How you doing? SPY, remember we gave you those daily expected moves to the upside, 522.55 to the upside, sitting right around that monthly expected move. Okay, so that's something to pay attention to. We could do something like this and end like this on Thursday. That would make a lot of sense for the end of the month here for the SPY, and get some kind of right shoulder. That is a positive thing that could happen. If this just starts to fade though, and we don't see continued strength, sure, we can make a little head and shoulders in here too. So we can make it in two different areas at this point. So we could be seeing this come up. We just don't want this to completely fade, okay? We want this to hold at this point before we actually want to make a move lower. And the thing that might have been a little bit of a hint, actually, I'm going to switch to a 30-minute for this. I wanted to show you guys the Qs again. Something that I just was noticing was, and we talked about, hey, we didn't take out this low on the Qs, and that might be a little bit of a hint that we're actually going to see this type of structure play out, and we might actually see a move upward from here. So we got to see if this 30-minute can cross up in positive territory, see if we can remain positive, because if this just fades, then people might be getting out of positions at these higher levels. Apple, this thing curled down on the MACD, looks like it's going to be curling up first thing in the morning. We'll have to see how that pans out. The 15-minute, right, this is what we were posting on Patreon, telling you guys about how Apple looks like it wants to make a move higher if it can just get a little bit of good news or go into positive territory. So the good part about this trade is you notice that we did get that curl up, but it curled immediately back down, not able to go positive. Look how close that is to going positive, but it wasn't able to. Curls back over in negative territory, therefore, you know the previous low is going to be tested, and that's exactly what happened by end of day. Now we're seeing a reaction here. Will it break us out of any consolidation we have down here? We'll have to see if this is able to actually go positive. We need that to go positive to really see a good move from Apple going forward. Tesla, this is what we're talking about because it has that strength. And the funny thing about Tesla was it actually broke back down below the weekly expected move, which I thought was interesting, but we're starting to gap above it again. So now you can see that MACD behavior even on the 15-minute. We can get this to curl up. Maybe we do something like that before the week is over. So we'll have to pay attention to that on Tesla. This is really the main thing here. Looking for some positivity because of daily divergences down here. So even though this bar looks really bad, we still could see some positivity come in. Maybe we actually get a divergence up here that curls us back down. So that's something to pay attention to. Good morning, Ray. Good morning, Miles. And good morning, Hannah. Hannah's out there scalping today. Amazon, this one making a move higher as well. We talked about this being a cup, and now we're trying to consolidate up here, but you did fill this cup this way now. So you have like a cup going this way, and we kind of failed at this point. So you want to see if it's able to do that again, right? It's kind of a complicated cup and handle, kind of a complicated head and shoulders that we could get up in this area to actually break us through this level up here and start closing above there. But you notice that we did complete the cup to the other side, so be careful if this starts to break through like 178, because that could be bad news for Amazon. Nvidia, this one is the one we were like, hey, make sure to pay attention to this. We were talking about this a lot live, right? If this curls up into positive territory, we can see another positive move. Now, why do we think that? Well, because every single time we've curled up into positive territory, we see a positive move, curl up, positive move, curl up, positive move every single time until we start to make that slightly lower high. Then we see the consolidation coming through and we start to break down at the end of the day. So we'll have to pay attention to that. But the main thing you knew at this point was it didn't go positive and it crossed over on the MACD right at this bar. So at this bar right here, you know, there is potential weakness because it just curled over on this MACD. So I shouldn't be taking any plays at this point to the upside because we could see this just roll down. Now, this doesn't mean that we have to give up all the gains here because we're still pretty close to that center line. I just want to see what happens this morning. That's what I would say. But at this point, you have to say it's in negative territory. If we start to drop lower, we can get that series of lower highs. A lower high probability is higher here, but you see the structure to head up if we'd like to. You can see that right there, this head and shoulders over here. So we have to pay attention to that. The only reason that you have to pay a little bit closer attention to Nvidia is because of the 2-hour crossing. So the 2-hour crossing, getting a sell signal, this was able to drop us below the daily 5-day moving average. Okay, so that just tells me, hey, maybe I should look out for the 20, which is somewhere around 880 to 890 is going to be where that lies right now. So if we do see that weakness, look for some support in here. Maybe this is just going to be some kind of ABC move to get us up to higher. So just pay attention to that sort of stuff. Video split 5 for 1, 10 for 1 thoughts. Probably I want to say it would be 5 for 1, but AMD, this is one thing that I'm paying attention to this morning on the 15-minute. It's still right near the center line, not able to get really deep here, and it's been consolidating for a long time. So this is what we were talking about. It can get ugly. If we start to break above this level, we can get pretty. We can start to see this come up. We built a ton of liquidity in this, so we might see a big move. But if that breaks the downside, right, if we start to break below these levels, then it starts to look like that big move might head down. Look for this hourly MACD to actually cross. But if that rejects this morning, we see that start to head up, you could go positive. We could see some positivity from AMD. Marina, welcome, welcome. Meta, one thing to pay attention to here. First of all, hourly right at the center line, so we could see that cross up. Let's look at the 15-minute. A little bit deeper here, right? So this one here, you could say, you know, has the higher potential for some kind of lower high, right? So we have to pay attention to that, but you see the structure again to head higher. If we're going to do that, we're most likely going to react to somewhere up here, grab some liquidity, and then start to head higher, maybe going on into next week. So we want to pay attention to it, see if people are getting too bearish, too bullish before PCE, and then we'll, you know, move around those rocks, move like water, trade like water, move around those rocks and figure out which way the stream's going. Microsoft, not the best, right? We're seeing the cup and handle. We're seeing this cup. We're seeing this cup, we're seeing this cup and handle, right? So we could just bounce down from here. What I would see if this little trend is able to break. Maybe this is just consolidation up here to head higher. 15-minute, one thing I wanted to point out on the 15-minute down here, you actually have divergence between this point and this point. So if we do see positivity, you actually have divergence here on Microsoft, which can roll up this hourly, and maybe we get an hourly triple divergence before all of this rug has been pulled. So it's going to be very interesting if we see positivity going into close on Thursday, if this just goes positive for a couple days here. So if we see that positivity come in, it could be short-lived with some kind of triple divergence on Microsoft. Be aware of that. Google, similar thing, right? You already have the triple divergence on Google. You have it right here. So Google is really telling you, like, this is all I got left at this point. But you can see price getting tight. It's a strong move, so we can see a little bit further upside here. A couple that I know people are looking at, ARM. Let's go through ARM for 1 second. This one really started to sell off. Something that was actually a trade here for ARM, which you could have trusted here. If we had weekly ranges for this, it actually probably would be really good, because I do believe that this most likely came out of the weekly range. You see the divergence up here. You see that down on the MACD, just a little bit down on the RSI there, but you see that on the MACD, down on the MACD, down on the RSI at the same time, which tells you that 2 hour has a good likelihood to roll over. Look at that move. This would have been a great trade. I wasn't necessarily looking at ARM, but I kind of wish I was, because look at that. It is very ugly. So if we do drop lower from here, you can see the structure too, head lower, right, left, head. We drop a little lower, maybe we get some kind of right shoulder in this area. That would make a lot of sense. If we start to head higher from here, well, then this was all just a big cup, and this is just a big handle, which means we can see a big move going on into the next few days. So just be aware that even though, yesterday at the end of the day was a little bit freaky, you still have this hourly right by positive territory that wants to curl up. Maybe it curls up and gives us a divergence, and then we can talk about the momentum weakening there. Netflix, this one, hourly divergence right here, and you really just have divergences all across here. You can see this high here. You can't even see it on the MACD. You have divergences on a 2 hour all the way across all this. So Netflix telling you that the momentum is pretty dead, okay? This is telling you the momentum is dying, and it's dying a ton. At this point, it's pretty much gone. So if we see an upward move and we get any kind of bad news, that could be a sign that we actually want to head to lower levels, according to Netflix. And Netflix starting to make that lower move as of this morning. So look for this 30-minute divergence this morning. Look at that. It's right by negative territory. You can see it right pretty close to the center line at this point. So we could be seeing this start to rip down. You see it right up here, boom. You see it right here, boom. You see it right here, boom. So this is a potential for Netflix to actually roll down. And will that confirm the 2 hour? Well, if that confirms the 2 hour, that divergence could hold strong there. And then we can say, is the daily then going to roll over? Well, the daily divergence might have to play out as well. Well, right now we're rejecting. So this divergence up here still holding strong. You can see all of them across the way down here on the RSI. Not a good look for Netflix as we're about to open in about 1 minute. So let's go over to the SPY and watch this for a moment. Some good strength coming. But we just have to see, are we going to remain positive? No real news today, just some bond stuff and some oil stuff. That's all we got, so no real big news today. If anyone sees anything out there, make sure to let your boy know. Take a sip of your coffee because we're about to get started. There's no, it's a rumor, Dave. And good morning, Naveed. Knowledge on the go, good morning. Ocean Goose, good morning. Yeah, it's just a rumor at this point. At least I haven't heard anything about it. And the SPY opening up, now we have to see, is this right away going to hit some resistance, maybe even come down to this level? That would be very interesting going on into today. Let's check where the Qs are starting out at. The Qs, this is actually where I would think it might actually make that head and shoulders right in this area, right? So I actually think this area of 447 looks pretty good, 447, and then we start to trail off, and then we see that kind of curl up maybe by the end of the day. So we'll have to see if we create if we kind of confirm this as a right shoulder. It is a deep right shoulder, so that's something to pay attention to. Green today, no black swan, please. I think the black swan is definitely coming. I think it's going to come out pretty quick. Because I was reading some stuff about cocoa, I was reading stuff about oil. I kind of want to check on oil this morning just to see what's happening here. And this thing's just been moving up pretty good. So right now you do have you don't have divergence on oil, actually. You could be seeing some kind of pullback. This actually could just be consolidation at this point to head higher. So not a good sign for inflation if oil wants to just keep going up, keep curling up into positive territory. Look at this. Cup and handle look here. Kind of a consolidative cup and handle at this point. So really what you're looking at is the price getting pretty tight on oil here and starting to head down. Okay, so we're going to see if this is able to break to the upside or break to the downside. Maybe a 2 hour divergence is what happens before we actually see oil come back down. So that's just something to pay attention to. Gold, this is what I was paying attention to. gold likes to drop significantly sometimes when a deflationary event happens. Okay, so when the dollar sees strength, and I know the yen is suffering today, we can see that, boom, we see this divergence up here. Is gold telling us that the momentum's dead, something bad is going to happen? That is maybe a recession, some kind of deflationary event. So that's overall what I'm thinking with gold here. Not to say gold's like bad or anything like that, but it's just whenever we go through a deflationary event, you can look at even I think it was like 2020 and things like that. Or oh wait, I'm on a 2-hour chart. Okay, I was like, why is this not zooming out? Yeah, you can see that when there is inflation going on, gold is a good hedge that people take because gold, better than the dollar. The dollar and inflation just keeps going down like this, but the value of gold goes like this. So now you can see that rotation into the dollar. And let's go look at Nvidia this morning. Let's take a look at that. As we look, 920 able to drop down further. Okay, so this is where we want to see where that 20-day moving average lies as of this morning. See if that's able to hold up. Well, that's sitting right around that 880. Okay, so we're going to pay attention to 880 going forward, seeing if the 15-minute or the 30-minute gets a reaction from 880 would be very, very important moving forward. AMD still seeing that strength, and that's funny because AMD, if this one curls over, it looks pretty bad on the hourly. So we have to watch that. Apple, you want to see this one see some positivity as well, but we're getting rejected off the trend as of right now. So we could see a move lower, but does that keep any of these divergences? That's what we'll have to see. This actually isn't the worst sign in the world. If we hold up above this level, you kind of have a good opportunity for that to go higher, go into positive territory here, triple divergence at these lows, kind of multiple point divergence across the way here for the 15-minute. Who's got big plays out there today? Who's playing a fun one? Anybody have a fun play out there today? We like our fun plays after we do well. Now, something to note about Nvidia, just remember, I did look at the max pain, and I'm going to tell you that put wall is still right around 930, so it's interesting that 930, if we hold below that, not going to be the best, but the 1,000 call wall went crazy, so really pay attention to 1,000 this week, because the 1,000 call wall just went huge. So if we do see a big break to the upside, giving us that $1,000 Nvidia, we could actually see that sell off on Thursday. So be very careful with that. Institutional investors are rebalancing stocks like Nvidia and Supermicro, looking for the same today. That is possible, and maybe they want to do that with the Friday close, actually. Maybe they want to re-enter this position, sell out, and then we see that go back up next week. So we'll have to see how they're going to play this. Maybe they have to, oh wait, they have to reposition by tomorrow, I think. So tomorrow might be when we actually see some kind of big move. But we're just going to pay attention to the price action, try to follow this, not read too much into that. If we follow the technicals and we're diligent with it, we should be okay in this market. Just note that 880, which I might actually mark off, is an area that we need to pay attention to. I'm just going to put it right at 880. That is where our 20-day moving average is. Watching Microsoft for the put side, and yeah, this thing, even though Microsoft can see another move higher, this actually can be bad news. So you do have a 15-minute divergence down here. I don't want you to, think you don't at this point. You do have a 15-minute divergence. You can see that on the RSI and MACD at the same time. So we could see a positive move here. We also could go very negative. So there's multiple ways to play this. If it starts to break through this level, you'd probably say, yeah, we're going to head lower. Maybe I have to look for a 30-minute or something. Maybe I have to look at a 2-hour. But as of right now, not able to break down. So we could just see this 30-minute go positive and then give us some kind of 30-minute divergence up here. But you can see the 30-minute divergence between these two highs that kind of gave you this sell-off, right? So this was a trade to take Microsoft here, which we're going to be adding to the Patreon. Once we hit 100 members, we're going to add Microsoft, Google, and one other stock that you guys get to pick on Patreon. So pay attention to that, and then you guys know. Yesterday, we came up with the great idea to give away one free, because I need to practice and I need to see how it's going to flow. I need to make sure everything works properly. So we're going to do a one-on-one for free to one member on Patreon at the end of April. So you have the month of April to join, and then we can look through stocks together. Me and one person on Patreon will be doing that at the end of April. So pay attention to that coming out. As of right now, you want to see Is this going to bounce up? That's not really what you want to see. It's starting to fade pretty quick in today. Apple, though, still able to hold at higher levels. One thing to note here, that 30-minute divergence actually does hold here as well. That little red bar gives you it on the MACD and RSI at the same time. So this looks pretty strong here. We just want to see, is the 2-hour going to actually roll up? That would mean some positivity could be coming. DJT. This one here, I really wasn't looking for much. I was looking at the 5-minute to just show, like, once it goes negative, you could have taken a play on this. Look at this. It goes negative right here. Okay, so right on this little bar, these 2 bars right here, it goes negative. And look what happens right as we go negative. You don't think this center line is important? We talk about it in the course, which you can get for $100 for 4 more days. We talk about in the course, this goes negative. That's when the weakness can come in. Boom, look at that play to the downside. A 15-point move in just like a couple hours there. That's pretty cool. But how's everyone doing? Make sure to smash that like button this morning. Make sure we're growing this community. You guys are always so good about that. Smash if you want your trades to go well today. All right, let's look at a 30-minute for the SPY here. We're going to leave it on here for a little bit. I just want to see if we get that reaction up. Do we kind of curve back down? Or do we just see an explosive move to get above these and kind of use them as support? We'll have to see. But as we are entering into the end of the month, it would make sense for us to land right back in this area as far as Thursday goes. And then maybe we do something like that. Does call at 1,000 mean a buy at that price or a sell? So that would mean that once it gets above 1,000 and you approach close, people could take profit. So you could see it fade above 1,000. That's the overall thinking there. So the max pain for it, that like yesterday, it looked like this, like max pain at 1,000, and then it was 930, looked like this as well, right? A bar up, like, well, let me draw straight for a second. My goodness. It was kind of like this. Okay, the put side was like this. If I could draw, that would help. All right, there's your put wall at 930. Well, I'm just going to tell you today, the 1,000 call wall as of this morning went like this. Yeah, that looks about right. Okay, so the 1,000 call wall went massive here. So that just tells you on Nvidia, like, hey, people have a ton of calls at 1,000. So once it reaches 1,000, you could see people hitting that sell button. Let's check on Reddit. Reddit sounds like fun this morning. Let's go look at that real quick. Ooh, seeing that drop down. We don't have a lot of technicals to go off of here. Maybe we could look at a 5-minute. But overall, yeah, similar thinking to the going negative. So even on a 5-minute, you can see right as we go negative, right in this here, sure, we get a tiny pop, and then that starts to drop as we remain down here in that negative territory. So we're right at the center line. But we are below the center line at this point, even with these green bars. And so once we go negative here, you kind of know, like, hey, there is more weakness in it than there is strength. But as that curls up, maybe you get out of that position. And then as that curls back down, you go, okay, I'm right back in. Boom, get that move to the downside. So solid move there. Yeah, Mark, and someone mentioned a rebalance and things like that as well, and that's why I overall, that's why I really wanted to keep it in perspective of like, hey, we're still above the 20 on a lot of this stuff. Even SMCI, we can probably go look at that. It's literally, it's 5 and it's 20 are right in here. Let me make sure this is a 5 because I know that once things get a little bearish, I will switch to a 9-day moving average. But as of right now, you're seeing that start to react down, but you notice there's 2 very important moving averages below us. We can look at what SMCI has used to remain higher this whole time, looking a lot like Nvidia, right? The 20, the 20, the 20, tries to get down to the 20. This time it broke through, but we bought back up above the 20. So we'll have to see if this is going to be maybe like an ABC pattern to the upside on like an hourly chart here. So I would look at an hourly here, see if we see that selling come in for today, and then see if we see another move higher. Now, there is potential to stair-step our way down with these little bumps, right? There's potential for that to happen. We just want to pay attention. Probably if the 2 hours actually able to cross. If that 2 hour fully crosses, you can start to head lower. This is a strong move, but you're right by negative territory. So you have to say if the 2 hour does cross, you might test this low. and then you'll have to see if that breaks. But potential here for this to like break and then give us a divergence as well. So you have to be aware of some downside, but just note SMCI, your daily moving averages are pretty much both right here at this point. So nothing to be, too fearful about at this point. And why I wasn't too fearful looking at this towards the end of the day was we didn't really see anything happen with Bitcoin. We really didn't. This thing just remained higher. So if we were going to see something actually dramatic, and why this probably is just repositioning actually, is because Bitcoin actually falling off would make sense if we're seeing something dramatic happen, if some kind of news came out. Nope, we're just seeing this happen, so I think we have a good shot to cross and head a little bit higher, which actually means probably good things for Mara. Mara is one that's been sitting in this flag here, so right now it's still flagging to the upside. Right now, you really want to create a little bit of a lower high, I would say. So a lower high here would be very good. You can see it coming up, but maybe we actually do want to dip even lower, react up to here, and then get that in the future. So that's how I would see it at this point on the 15-minute. The 2-hour already rolled over, but you notice it's not eager to go negative. So once it goes negative, we can start to say, okay, negative breaks through here. Okay, now we can test this low, go make a new one. But until that happens, right, we have to be a little bit patient. It's starting to go negative as of right now. So you're probably going to want Mara to buy back up by the end of the day. Smiggity smash that like button. And this one on the hourly is what I'm overall thinking could mean lower prices. Meta touching the weekly range. Was it? Was it? Little bit lower, just barely. Actually, did that touch it? Yeah, actually that did come outside of the weekly range. So Meta telling you as of today, if it wants to buy up, it actually is telling you, I'm at my weekly range. Now, you do have that point where if Nvidia and AMD and all these things start to sell off dramatically, we could see something more dramatic happen, use that as resistance to head lower. But if you're part of the Patreon, this is all Meta has priced in for the week. So there is a 68% chance we land in this zone right above this price down here. So pay attention to that going forward. Netflix started to see that weakness come in, right? We mentioned that this morning on the hourly here, just seeing that divergence, seeing the divergences on the 30-minute, seeing that actually curled down. Now you want to see, if this 30-minute curls down, does it curl back up into positive territory? That means there's probably a little bit left, but you can notice this trickling up is very, I would say, a little bit more difficult, not as much like movement in price. So I wouldn't necessarily trade this one back and forth. Maybe I'd look into Microsoft or something like that. If this could see some strength, we could see a good move somewhere up to like 430 or something like that. So yeah, we'll just pay attention to that going forward. AMD not able to fully break down, going negative a little bit, but kind of remaining right in the middle at this point. So if we're able to hold up here, it's not that bad. It's really not. Nvidia really starting to drop off here, but we just got to keep in mind this 880. Okay, 880 is what you don't really want to lose. But as people do take calls into Friday, that is very interesting. A ton of calls coming through. I wonder if that was retail, all trying to pile in at the $1,000 mark. Once we see a little sell-off, they could get it a little cheaper. But as those guys go underwater, we can see this escalate. Unless it's someone that knows something that we don't. Nvidia might go to 850 again. I would really look at 840, guys. I think 840 is the important level for Nvidia, right? You see these lows we never could break through. And if we do that, we could start to say, hey, we're starting to see maybe at least consolidation up here or a range. But if this starts to break, we can start to head lower. What's on Reddit? GME. It's GME GameStop, right? SPY, Qs. Feeling bold. Let's go look at that one. Let's go look at this real quick. Whoa, okay, all right. So that is a big drop off here, minus 15% to start off this morning, curling down negative territory. This is exactly where you need to hold up. So you really need to hold up in this area, or else it could get pretty ugly. We could go down to 1190, something like that. we can scroll back in the past and see, oh, this thing could really start to drop, maybe down to this gap fill around 460 over time. So this negative trend being pretty good to you. Now you're seeing those divergences start to come in on this daily, right? We see the divergences all along here. We see that down here, but is this all the pop you get out of that, or is it going to base out and head higher? So what to pay attention to that. Tesla, that's right. We haven't looked at Tesla too much this morning. This is one that we want to pay attention to the upside, just because of that daily divergence that was posted there. But if this actually wants to head higher, we're going to see actually 15-minute. Most likely would be better to watch here. It's right at the center line, so if it wants to see some positivity come in, we could see a positive move going forward. Let's look at a daily, see if any moving averages are right there. So we're right at the 20. We could come all the way back down to the 5, but this would be an area where it would be very good for Tesla to hold up. See that curl up, positive territory, that would be a good sign. But as we are below that weekly expected move again, you can see that hold as resistance right now, 180.92 coming in as resistance. I know SOX was one, SOXL, yeah, so that's probably the other end of it. I don't necessarily trade on the like 3x leveraged ones too much or anything like that. If anything, I would trade something like ARM or something like that. If I was going to, I would trade maybe AMD if I could, if this setup would actually look good. And look at that, AMD going positive. So that's something to look at. But as far as trading the 3x leverage stuff, if I was not wanting to do a option play, I would do it. Hood credit card news. We can look at this one here. Oof. Okay, so on the 15-minute MicroStrategy, not looking very good. That looks like that can tip over. If that tips over, the hourly might tip over. So this one here, not looking the best as of this morning. Apple, there's that strong move from Apple. Look at that. Look at that strong move from Apple. There it is. There's your hourly cross. Positive. It could go into positive territory. We could get back up to this zone. But let's see what that news might have done. Yeah, up here you have divergence up here. Not necessarily on the RSI at the same time. Okay, so we want to look at a 2-hour. It looks a little cleaner. You can see the divergence across the way here. This not able to go negative yet, so you're just going to keep trickling up. Look at that. If you just keep trickling up, positive territory, we're going to see that positivity. So you have to see this reverse, get that negative trend, cross down through the center line. This is a good sign that momentum is dying at this level, though. The 30-minute, looking like it wants to make this divergence actually solidified. Not really able to get it right here, but maybe this one is the correct one. So we'll have to see about that, really see if that goes negative, because then that 2-hour can start to flip over. I'm in the Apple play. Yay! Yeah, Apple looking pretty good this morning, honestly. Not able to fully break down or anything like that. Apple Play looking all right. So nothing too much to really worry about going forward, honestly, unless we see some news come out. But gold wants to break 2200 today, push it real good. And gold still, you just want to be like, okay, let me really think about this for a sec. If it's going to see that positive move, you do have room. You have room on this 2-hour. You have the cup and handle. It could go higher, right? Not saying it can't. I have my target above me, 205.65, but we could be seeing that create an actual, like, real divergence, right? This one here looked pretty good, but look at that. It didn't go negative, so you want to pay attention to the next one that you get if it's something like this, and then see if that one can go negative. So if you were trying to play this, right, this divergence up here, you'd say, oh, we didn't go negative. Okay, it curled back up. I'm out of this. Now I see a positive move. Look for that in the future, and then see if that goes negative. That's what I would say. Can the market crash soon? Very much so, yes. It very much so can. You guys, will this crash happen overnight? If you've been a part of this channel, you know how I think this is going to happen. I don't think it'll be some sudden crash. Sure, we can see big price action to the downside for a little bit, but I think we will see bounces along the way. I think it will be more of a real bear market than we got last time during that correction. So I know people, you can say that was a bear market and things like that. We trade it like a bear market. It really acted like a bear market. So I could say it's a bear market as well. But as of right now, seeing this curl up, you notice that the SPY, the 2 hour, looks like it's pointing this direction. Maybe we get another positive move higher, so we have to maybe think about this like if we do this and then consolidate, maybe we want to pay attention to the top side of our expected move for next week. So that's kind of how I like to think of things too. I like to think almost a week ahead at this point. Once we hit the last 2 days of trading, I'm like, okay, what do stocks look like they want to do next week? Something good. I'm thinking late April for a good pullback, and I think that's very possible. I actually think I want to look when what data comes out and when. I do that as well, and it helps me out a lot of the time. So let's see what data is coming out. I know we have GDP tomorrow. I expect GDP to be okay for the market. I really do at this point. Fed Chair Powell is speaking tomorrow at 10:30 a.m. while the market is closed. That's sketching me out a little bit. We get non-farm payrolls April 5th. I really wanted to look for like CPI. Okay, CPI comes out Wednesday, April 10th. CPI comes out Wednesday, April 10th. And this is the one that really messed people up. Supposed to come in at 0.3 month over month, and previous one was 0.4. Core inflation rate year over year, 3.6. Last one came in at 3.8. Inflation rate month over month, 3.3. Last time came in at 3.2. So we could see that tick up there. It's even in the forecast that we're going to see a tick up in the inflation rate year over year, just the inflation rate, not the core. So pay attention to that. But the inflation rate month over month, 0.4, 0.4. So that's a date that I would really start to mark, April 10th. But it's kind of like before then, do we see some kind of sell-off and then we get a bounce before CPI and then we get another one? That would make a lot of sense as well. So there's a ton of liquidity up into here. So I assume if we break down quickly, we're going to want to stay in here, grab a bunch of it, and then start to head down again. So right now we're just paying attention to if this 2 hour can turn up, then I would say look for that 2 hour divergence. That could be a very big hint for weakness to come in the next few weeks, I would say. Okay, so March has been exactly what we expected, a very up and down, very trappy market at this point. I mean, even look at this one down here. That is a huge trap. And therefore, it's just like, okay, I only had hedges really going on here. I'm not really seeing anything that can come out to really scare me out of this market at this point. And now I can see plays to the upside. Well, look at Apple. That is a strong move. So look at Apple, look at that reaction, liquidity built up. We see that positivity come in. Now we just want to see 15-minute able to go positive so we can start to pay attention to a 30-minute and hourly, see these things start to make a big move higher. So I just want to pay attention probably to my upside weekly expected move because we built up a lot of liquidity in here. Now we can also do something like this, right? Get the big cup in here, get that handle. You see this level here, kind of like this. Well, what if this is left? What if this is all the head? And then we get a small right shoulder going like this, get that cup and handle around that area, start to head higher. So I, for the most part, have traded individual stocks. I trade TLT sometimes. The actual stock market, I really don't do very often unless I see something very obvious that looks like it's going to play out in the next couple of days or like week or so. That's what I would say. Most of the time I'm trading things like Apple, like right, this trade here is a good one. So I took this one. I'll be probably looking at some stuff like Microsoft and Amazon and Meta. Like all these things are good options to go look at for plays for further upside or even the downside. And really, I think going into the month of April, I'm going to start accumulating my downside plays. There's nothing really to worry about too much here unless we start breaking below 880. I know this is very, very bad. It looks very, very bad. But what if we just get another test of this 20 and we start to head up? So I'm not saying you can't like, oh, this went below the 5, so I can take a short, I can play it to the 20, I can get out of my position and see if there's some kind of bounce and then get back into it. It would make total sense if you're trying to hold, like do a 6-month play or something like that as well. If you're going to see even a move up, well, by 6 months from now, we'll most likely be down. So that's just what I would say. I'm really just looking at this 2 hour. We see it curl down. And then we're going to look by the end of the week or going into next week, does this just come down to 880, base out, and just curl right back around, giving us another point of divergence in the future? That's what I'm paying attention to. Good call. Reddit put so far. SPY downside gap fill. Took all day yesterday, same today. Very well could be. I mean, a lot of people are saying like any bounce that we see in the SPY, I'm going to be shorting it at this point. And I'm just like reading into that. I'm like, why? I mean, you can have the sellers above you, but we're still just like, if you look at the daily, it's like, why would you? I mean, I get it if you're just trying to play the 20 or something like that. This would make sense. This would make a ton of sense for the SPY to get here. But as it bounces up, you have less and less likelihood as it remains above this 5-day moving average. So I don't necessarily see that thinking unless we knew like, hey, some really bad news is coming out. But right now you're just moving down a little bit sideways, right? We can just see a pop higher if PCE is good or if Jerome Powell saves the market again with his speech on Friday. Now, does he come out and announce a rate cut or something like that? That would be interesting. That would be very interesting if he announced like a sudden rate cut or some kind of problem happening. Seeing TLT actually turn up on this daily MACD, if this can go positive, we actually might be seeing much higher prices for TLT, which is great for my buy down here at 82.50. Which we talked about in the past, right? That 82.50 is such a good price to pay attention to. We can see the structure. We're wanting to head higher here, grabbing some liquidity right now. Maybe this wants to head higher, pushing those rates down. So these rates here could start to fall as they cross over, go into negative territory. You see the slight divergence up here for some kind of double top, right? We can see that. Let's see if this actually holds. Yeah, it actually is down a little bit. Okay, so this is down a little bit, tier 2. So you actually have divergence here telling you that these rates can really drop off. Maybe he announces rate cut, maybe he announces something. But it's interesting that he's going to be talking 10:30 on Friday. The time where you can think about buying Nvidia at these levels, I would say if you see a good reaction off of this 20 here on the daily, if you see a good reaction off of 880, or if the 30-minute can just curl back up into positive territory, that's when I would start to look at it. But right now, you're just seeing that sink lower and lower, and the further you sink, the more probability to some kind of lower high, right? So we have to pay attention. Is this actually curling up and going positive as we do get deeper into here? You want that to go positive into positive territory. I mean, just like take a look at even a 15-minute for Apple. When did that positivity really come in? Well, look at this, right? As we go into positive territory with a firm move here, now we're going positive. That just immediately gets that buying pressure. What are some long black swan stock or treasury choices? Maybe in the Patreon. You can look at that. You don't have to do too much. Just know that black swan most likely will lead to a deflationary event, which could lead to TLT popping higher. Now, how high could this go? Well, we can come back up into a point of liquidity, maybe somewhere up around 106, something like that. But the big thing here is if TLT goes into a positive trend. Okay, so we're seeing the well, not necessarily. Okay, you do have one divergence down here, actually. You have one divergence between these points over here. So you have one divergence right along here between these lows, this one right here and this one right here. So you do have that. If this wants to cross up and go positive, then you have TLT in a positive trend, which means those rates are going to come down. But sometimes we do see the stock market go higher while those rates come down initially. Now, if he announces something tomorrow, like a sudden cut or something like that, that would probably be pretty bad. If it gets to 173.19, I'm shorting the hell out of it. Hey, Alan, how you doing this morning? Yeah, Marina, and that's the overall agreement. I'm just saying this market's been pretty resilient going to the upside. So if they just hear there's going to be a rate cut, do we see an initial positive reaction for like a week? That's all I'm saying. But the correct reaction would be down. The correct reaction would be, we start to crash down. It's a bad moment, right? But that's if he just says, hey, I'm cutting rates. People might be like, good. But if he says, I'm cutting rates because of something bad, then that could be bad. So that's how I see it. 2 hour here, just looking for if this wants to roll over on volatility. We're still seeing that base out at this point. Just want to see if we could get some kind of dip down, see that positivity come in. Apple seeing a good move here. Let's see, up 1.8 now. Able to cross on this 2 hour. We can see positivity out of Apple going forward. We are now up 50% on that bad boy. Smash that like button for me. I'm going to refresh. I'm going to see how many of you guys liked it. 40? 40? Oh, come on, guys. We got 10 in us. We got 10 likes in us for sure. At least 50. We've been getting to 100 pretty good, guys. Nvidia under 900, a good time to buy. I mean, really, just pull up a daily and just say, 880 is where I would say you could think about it. I wait for the price action to kind of prove itself at least a little bit before I buy. Right, I want some kind of reason to buy besides like, oh, 880 is a cool number, right? So what I would like to see is this to curl up into positive territory, or at least curl up. At least if this curls up, I know there's a chance that happens. But until then, you could just keep doing this, and then you go like this, and then you go like that. So I'm not saying like, oh, I'm never going to look at Nvidia again. I'm just like, okay, well, if this actually crosses, then I actually have a reason. But until I have a reason to take a trade, I'm not doing anything with this. AMD actually able to break down here, so this is where it can get ugly. This is where it can get ugly, and you probably really want to hold up at that 880 for Nvidia here. So breaking down below the 50 again for AMD. I'm going to say this wants to buy back up by the end of the day, at least by the end of the week, to see a positive move in the near future. But as you break down, you have to say, okay, now I can maybe target this gap around 164. So we have to pay attention to that if we start to break through this low here. We built up a lot of liquidity here, guys. Look at these daily bars here. We built up a lot. We got this to cross, right? So we could see a test of the bottom Bollinger here. Tesla's starting to sink. This thing is really starting to sink. Really just want to see if this 30-minute can go negative. It's not negative yet, so I'm not going to say, oh, this is terrible. I'm just saying this is not negative yet. We could go fill this gap, grab some liquidity, head a little higher, be open to both directions. But if this starts to roll over, that's not a good sign for Tesla. But you notice the last time we rolled over, positivity came in. So just pay attention if that positivity comes in one more time. Amazon not looking the best here. Starting to roll down into negative territory. That's the first step. Now you want to really consolidate, or not consolidate, you want to break through these lows here. Then maybe complete some kind of cup and handle around this area. Good liquidity in here. Bought at 950, sold at 912. I'm just going to tell you, there's always better options out there. I mean, just look at Apple. This was a way better option at this point than trying to do anything with Nvidia. But rebalancing might make sense as people rotate into Apple again, right? They're rebalancing for where they see some positivity. Apple's been breaking down for quite some time. Let's see. So, but just so you guys know, nobody can tell you exactly when the market will crash, and not one person unless they have insider info. Probably Jerome Powell can, because he controls when we're going to crash pretty much. But as of right now, you just have to say, I'm going to pay attention to times where that crash could be taking place. And it could be taking place right now. I'm just saying I'm not going to be convinced fully until we start to really lose this 20-day moving average. Yeah, well, technically, Pelosi knows everything, but her husband trades everything, right? 149 people. Thank you guys so much for joining today. Make sure to hit that like button for me. Subscribe if you do like some of the things we're going through today. Look out for my nightly YouTube videos. And make sure to join Patreon. We're giving away one free one-on-one session by the end of April. So if you join for the month of April here, we can give you guys part of the drawing to get a free one-on-one with me just to try it out. And then we'll make those available to Patreon members going forward. The other thing, just to point out real quick, make sure you know you have 4 days left to get that course that I put out there down in the description for $100. Okay, after 4 days from now, it will be going up. Physically holding you, somebody was buying PayPal calls. Maybe I didn't notice anything. Physically hold you I want to consider securing physical certificates with CUSIP numbers for the stocks you own unless you trust the digital middlemen. Yeah, pretty much no. And that's a very important thing with like Bitcoin and things like that. If you really want to own Bitcoin and things like that, just know when you're trading Bitcoin on, say, Robinhood or Webull or whatever, you don't own Bitcoin. You don't own the actual coins. In order to own the actual coins, you have to do something like Coinbase, I believe, or something like that. Coinbase, by the way, let's look at this. So this is that 2-hour divergence we were talking about. Look at this 2-hour divergence up here. We could be seeing lower price. This is why I'm saying the crash definitely can be happening very soon. But see if we lose the 20. We've held up at the 20 a few times here. So just pay attention to the 20 going forward. 880 for Nvidia. It could be the beginning of a correction, but I don't necessarily see that happening. Now, if we start to correct, before CPI or something like that, and then CPI comes out as good for the market, that's perfectly fine. Then we just see another upward move, and maybe this does extend into October or into the summers or into, May or June was when we were talking about those rate cuts coming in. Because when the rate cuts actually happen, that's usually when the selling starts. Transfers between hard wallets, your crypto, yeah. Yeah, so Coin's just telling you. It's telling you like, hey, I have a small divergence up here. I have a 2-hour divergence up here. I just like to pay attention to Bitcoin if I'm looking at Coin. It's just something that's good to do, right? So Bitcoin, not necessarily seeing that drop off very much. If it's able to curl up on this daily, you're most likely going to see Coin make another high. This is why I wasn't really worried about the overall market. I would assume if something really bad is happening, Bitcoin is going to at least start moving down by like 5%. That's what I would say. SMCI, seeing that touch the 20. Look at that. SMCI hitting the 20. We're starting to wick there. We have to see if it wants to break below that. If it breaks below that, that could be a bad sign. But you're seeing the 5 cross the 20. That's positive. We just want to see if it can hold up at this level. Okay, sorry, I was reading for a sec. I kind of started daydreaming for a split second there. See, now Bitcoin, if it makes this negative move, you just have all your moving averages right there. You haven't lost anything here, so just pay attention to that. Nvidia 897, let's see if that can go there. And by the way, on Patreon, we'll be giving out the daily expected moves for tomorrow. Okay, so on Patreon, not only do you get the weekly, the monthly, but every single Friday or every single end of the week close, since it is on a Thursday, we will be giving out those daily expected moves. So expect those to come out tonight over on Patreon. And if we see some trade setups, we're going to put out a video for Patreon. Most likely I'm going to do that going into Friday, just so I make sure to kind of reiterate, hey, be careful out there. Like, it's important to be careful. We have data dropping and Jerome Powell talking on a day where the market is technically closed. That's pretty big. What does correction mean in terms of Nvidia? So a correction in Nvidia would mean a bigger drop. It would most likely, at least at this point, mean a test of the 50. So if you really look at this from let's take it from this point up here, you could see a drop of something around 20%. That would overall be more of a correction to me. But that can take time, right? We could do something like this for a while before we actually meet up with this, and then we see that base out. So just pay attention to that. That's what you would mainly pay attention to. If you're going to get a bigger correction, 200, so 570. I know that sounds crazy, but look how fast this has gone up. It might digest, and then it could go up again. So I'm not saying it has to crash down. It's just for a regular correction, I would say the 50. For a little bit more dramatic, I would target 570. Apple, solid move, able to not cross down on this daily MACD. Solid move for Apple. I think you're going to hit 4K next week if you guys hit that like button. If I have 156 likes, we have potential to hit 4K next week. If you guys didn't know, I started this channel like in August. So I'm glad that people are finding how I see the stock market as valuable as the growth. I think I'm in like the top 3 or 5% of growing channels in their first year. So even though I had this channel like a year ago, doing random stuff, having fun with it, or just using it for business, now I turned it into a stock channel, and we've grown very significantly, and I really appreciate you guys liking these videos. So more people can join. We can hit that 4,000 mark. Maybe once we hit 5,000, we'll do an extreme something. We'll do some kind of celebration, some kind of sale, some kind of thing on Patreon, some kind of one-on-one giveaway. I don't know. We'll do something along those lines. So the same can be the opposite way, by the way, for Apple. You see this happen. Now we can see, hey, this is selling off, but we test the 20, we drop back down. Do we test the 20 again and drop back down? So that's what I would pay attention to on Apple going forward. 30-minute just going positive just a little bit here. So now we can see if some positivity wants to come in. Well, how did we say this would go up? Well, we'd probably come up to this gap and create that head and shoulders. I believe we said this in last night's video. If this wanted to hold up, left, head, right shoulder. We said it this morning, left, head, right shoulder. So we could see this consolidate in this area. That would be a good sign that Apple's actually going to see another extended move. SPY still positive at this point, right? We're seeing that sell off a little bit. Q's negative. Q's negative. So we can start to pay attention to something here being that bottom side. So if we want to see that extreme selling come in, that's where we can pay attention because guess what? The 20 is right above it. So the SPY not seeing too much weakness. We could see that test of the 20. Look at where Nvidia's at, 894. So that's very important to watch. Just watch all your 20-day moving averages because we could just be getting a test of that and then we actually head higher. Octopus? Apple strong today. You're doing great. The first 10K YouTube is the hardest. The first 100 is the hardest, guys. The first 100 is hard, but thankfully, you guys know that I worked for a big ad agency, so I know a lot about SEO. That's kind of what I'm doing for that startup as well. I'm doing some SEO work and doing some videography work, some marketing work as well. So SEO is the thing you kind of have to depend on, especially in the first 100. Oh, October. Can we see October low prices soon? October soon? It depends on your definition of soon. You know what I'm saying, Anush? It's kind of difficult to say soon because soon could be what? In a week, soon could be in 6 months, soon could be a year from now. If you look at the grand scheme of things, like Nvidia, let's say Nvidia. What if I told you Nvidia is going to go down to, I don't know, let's look at a weekly and say something. Let's see, weekly. Okay, let's say Nvidia is going to go down to this right here. Nvidia is going to go down to 271 soon. Well, is that, 2 weeks from now? Is that 6 months from now? Is that 2 years from now? Hey, 2 years happens. We can get something like this to play out, and it could happen, but it could take a lot of time. It could be like something like this, and then go down like this, and then drop, and it could be, late 2025 or something like that. So saying soon, I'm just telling you we could see lower prices as of right now, and I would target something like the 50 on the first drop. And right now you're seeing that cross. You just want to see if that goes negative. So this bar here did give you a hint even for today. Actually, it was this bar right here. So 940 was the point where you're like, oh, this is the crash signal for Nvidia confirming. Now I can see that downside happen. So if you were just looking at this right here, you knew, hey, there is some extreme risk to the downside right here. So there is no reason for me to take calls just yet. Now, if that would have done this and curled right back up, then you can look at 30-minute going positive and say, there's my reason. But as of right now, there's no reason to buy Nvidia at this point based on our charts. You would go in at 880. I would not. I would not go in at 880. No, I wouldn't. I would look for a 30-minute or an hourly to cross over first. I need a reason to get into a trade. Just saying, oh, I like this price. And when I say a reason, I need multiple reasons. We talk about this in the course. Thank you, Gordon. Thank you for subscribing. Appreciate everyone that's subscribing these days. Awesome community we're building here. But A80, I need like at least 3 reasons to take a trade. We talk about this and we tell you the reasons you could formulate to take a trade in the course, which is only $100 for 4 more days, guys. 4 more days to grab that thing. But this is something we talk about. So I would need, okay, I'm coming down into 880. Probably good liquidity in here to grab if we want to head higher. Now I just need maybe one more check mark. Maybe that's crossing up on this MACD into positive territory. Right, then I could see, oh, big move down, big move up. Your content is the key factor driving the increase in views and subscriber growth, bro. While I usually follow Trader Day TV, your approach has introduced a sense of calm to my daily trading activities. And that's really a very, very thoughtful thing to say, Family Adventures. Really, really appreciate that. Thank you so much for the $20 that's about to pop up on the screen. I'm just going to mention you right away because that was a great message. And that is something that really helped me out. And we talk about mentality on the course. But overall, patience is a very good thing in the market. You don't always have to be taking a trade every day. You want to be waiting for your setups and little things like that. And if you just calm down, take a breath, you will be doing a little bit better. You will keep yourself from doing silly things, okay? Doing very silly things. And there it is. So thank you, Family Adventures. Very nice message there. Like, right, so if I just look at this, I see divergence up here on the MACD and RSI at the same time. I see that curl over, and I say, hey, there is still potential for this to roll up in positive territory. All I have to do is think very simply. If this crosses up and goes positive, we can see something like this again. But it rolled over and went negative, so I know right on this, right on this bar right here, I say, nope, this thing is going to go lower. At least the probability says it's going to go lower. So I'm going to get out of that, take a small loss, maybe even play the downside for a little bit. You play the downside for a little bit as you go negative. Look at that, we cross over negative territory. Boom. Marina, I really appreciate that, and happy Friday. Thank you guys. Drake, yeah, all good stuff. Just try to, that's why, like, even at the beginning of last night's YouTube video was just like, hey guys, let's take a big breath together. Let's just really think about this from a different person, not necessarily a guy at a computer buying and selling stocks. Let's just look at this from an analyst perspective and say, okay, Nvidia has held up at the 20-day, every single time it's corrected tiny bit. Every single time it's pulled back, it's either the 5 or the 20. So we have to see if we break the 20. If we break the 20, then we can start to be a little bit more bearish. But until we break that 20, we have to say this will always have the potential to turn higher. Now you are going negative at this point. So if you come down to this area, you bounce and you start that negative trend, right? We bounce up. Now you can look at it the other way. If we bounce up to this area, curl back down around that center line, well, then you're going to most likely see lower prices for Nvidia, and this might break through the 20. You just think about it very, very calmly. It'll help you out a lot. And even with your trades that are a little bit scarier, right? Apple trade here, not the best looking. I mean, it looks really good on the perspective down here, but how much balls does it take to take a call right here? You know, when Nvidia is starting to do this, it's like very, very crazy to take a call here when you see Nvidia and AMD and semiconductors doing poorly. Very, very hard to do. But guess what? I trust my technicals. I do it. I know, hey, if I see it in the morning, if I see this thing continue negative, then I'm going to get out really, really quick. Okay, we see that bounce up. Now I'm up 50%. I just really trust myself and try to take my emotions out of it, because I easily could have been like, hey, this is not going to hold up in this area. But I totally understand if someone waited till it crossed up into positive territory, you take the break out of here. Maybe people even do that as it takes those moving averages back. Now we can see some kind of ABC pattern up. So there is potential here for some good positivity with Apple. And we're seeing Tesla start to curve back up too. So look at this, the 15-minute. If this wants to curl up positive territory, the only reason I'm a little bit worried with Tesla is because it's back within its weekly range again. Back within its weekly range. Apple hasn't hit the upside of its weekly range just yet. I don't believe it has. So we can play some upside. Yeah, hasn't hit that upside yet. But if that gets tagged, you know what I'm going to do? Because Jerome Powell's talking on Friday, am I going to hold this and say Apple's going to the moon? Am I going to do that? No, I know in my head I will feel a lot safer if I stay out of any craziness that could happen. And on Friday, we do get PCE. And on Friday, we have Jerome Powell talking. What if he comes out and just says we're going into recession? You know, that is a possibility. I don't think that'll happen. But this could go up like this. And then he says that, boom, it's ripped away. So I will be playing this until we see some upside here. And we'll see what happens. But if that starts to really fade by end of day, I know to get out of that position. As long as I see structure, I can hold this position for a little bit of time as long as it remains in positive territory. So thank you so much for that message. That was very, very nice. Yeah, I know. JP is going to be like, no, guys, butterflies, fairies, and everything's fine. Here's some more money. Actually, that's what he'll probably say. He'll be like, here, well, man, there is a crisis going on in New York City. Therefore, we have to put more money into the system right now. That's more what would happen. That title reflects me completely today. And this is I was just trolling. I'm not really trapped on anything. I have my hedges going on too, so. But one of mine's a little trapped. One of my plays is a little trapped. I'm going to lose on that one, but that's all right. Apple made up for it. Tesla bull flag. We could see if it's forming. Ooh. I mean, you could maybe say, maybe this is like a wedge or something like that. It looks. Let's see. No real flag here, but if you wanted to make some kind of wedge, I would understand, right? If you do something like this, that would make some sense. But I'm just really thinking if this thing curls up, goes positive, we're going to see positivity again. Will that be ripped away on Friday? That's the question. Starting to see Nvidia, plug the leak at this point, plug it up right around 880. Let's see if that daily moved at all. Yeah, we're seeing it right at that level, actually curling down a little bit, so just a little bit lower, but we'll leave it at 880. Looks like something around 878, so 880 is probably a fine level to pay attention to. But we'll see if that's able to make a move. AMD is something very interesting to pay attention to. This thing is really curling down, guys. This thing is really curling down. So I think we said in the video last night, this low right here is probably more important than this one. This one looks a little sketch. So this here is probably important, and you're in like a little bit of a range. So you really could go either way here. Remember, see, you find out when you got to get your money that they only have US banking. Yeah, so the very good video to watch about that is there's like a small video on YouTube where it explains it very well. It's just like you deposit $10,000 in a bank, they deposit actually $1,000, they lend out $9,000, and then when that person gives you $9,000 back to that person purchases something for $9,000, then that person goes and puts it into another bank, and then they take 10% out of that, and then they lend out the rest. And I think it's by the end of the day, your money has been lent out 10x or something like that. It's like your money's been lent out, so $10,000 will be lent out so many times that it will create over $100,000. It's rotating other money. It's rotating into other stocks like MU and MRVL. They only have to hold 1.35. Oh, we're screwed. Oh God. Oh God. That's. Ugh. What do we say on this channel? Banking crisis is coming, man. Some kind of credit banking crisis is going to come up. That's just annoying. It's like crazy the things we're doing in our society. I have a buddy that's a detective, and he literally said that in order to get a bond for these people who have done like the worst things, the worst crimes you can imagine. I'm talking like the bad ones. Not going to say it on YouTube, but think of the top 2 bad things that you could do to people that you get arrested for. Yes, think of the extreme. And those 2 things, right now, it's like they can get out on bail. They can walk the streets so easily. Like, and it's not up to him because the government sets bails too cheap, and their bail bond companies and stuff like that, they take only, I think they only make you pay like 3% or something like that. So they give $100,000 bail, and then it costs you, $1,000 to get a loan for $3,000 to then get out of the. It's just like, dude, what the hell is going on, man? Oh, these. Yeah, I don't have my. Oh, I need to get my fun mugs out. Do I have a Stitch mug? Yes. Yes. I believe that crypto is the future. The funny part is, I believe this, and this is something crazy that I've always believed. If Bitcoin is the future, Family Adventures, your top chat just went away, but I still love you, man. If we're going to see Bitcoin be the future, first of all the other coins will go away and Bitcoin will explode to a value that's just insane. You guys know I'm still leaning towards Bitcoin to 100,000. I just don't think it happens this year. I think it maybe happens in the next few years, or 5 years from now. Now, the thing that would be crazy is I think Bitcoin would only be big if we actually saw some kind of like USA civil war or something like that. Damn, that's a lot of dust. Genuinely believe that, because one side will use Bitcoin and the other side will maybe use the dollar or some kind of centralized digital currency, which they're like, do not worry about that. Whenever the government tells me do not worry about it, we're not even thinking about making it, I immediately think they already made it. It's just like right before COVID hit the US, they're like, do not worry, it's not going to hit the US. It already did. Okay, do not worry. You can wear a mask. The mask didn't work. Do not worry. We have a vaccine. You get sick from the vaccine. Like, it's just not good when they tell you something is not going to happen. A lot of the time it does. So here's a good example related to markets. Inflation is transitory. This inflation is controllable. This is nothing to worry about. Inflation is transitory. Okay, inflation's not transitory. No, that's how I see it. Kimberly, I saw you early, but you're about to pop up on the screen. Thank you so much, Kimberly Cooper, for subscribing. Appreciate you being here this morning. Thank you guys for liking the stream so we can get these new people in here, get some people learning, especially at the end of this month, because we got some big things going on Patreon and with the course over the next few days and the next month for Patreon. There you are. Kimberly Cooper, welcome to the channel. Tesla is starting to maybe even go green here. Look at that. Starting to maybe go green. Apple, looking like we need to look at some smaller charts here. See if Apple's able to hold up at this area. Remember, even if it sees that dip down, look for that left shoulder, look for the head, look for that right shoulder. I just wouldn't want this to go too negative, I would say. I don't really want it to break through. I would say, it's weird to look at, but this level on the MACD, I don't want it to start to turn below that very, very much. I want that to kind of just do that. Thing I put on BA, I don't like how the daily MACD is curled up in positive territory. I was curious what your opinion on it to the downside for Boeing here. This is a curl up positive territory, right? Starting to get in there on the 15-minute. Look at a 2-hour real quick, seeing that go positive. See if that crosses. That most likely means that positivity is there to stay. Maybe an ABC move. The daily side here, curled up, and you have divergence. So this is why with a lot of stocks like this, I won't be taking any kind of... I don't do swing trade options to the downside, because especially when there's something like this going on, a lot of the time I look for, reversals in a random bounces trend before I take a short on anything. I don't necessarily swing trade. I can use it as a reason to take a trade, but maybe it's only one reason. But you see the divergence down here. You see the flatness of the flatness of the RSI with the curving up of the MACD here. So I would say a reaction from here would make sense. Maybe even go to 213 or at least test the 50. If this is going to drop off, I would look for those 30-minute divergences, right? Which is what you looked at. I can see what you're seeing here, triple divergence. Just note, if this goes positive, then this wasn't the actual dip. Maybe it wants to head higher, make a quadruple, make another divergence that gets you real low. You might just say, hey, this curled up positive territory. Let me be careful with this. This is a time where money is going to be king, right? The value of your dollar is already gone up, right? You're seeing it go up. So there's no ill will in getting in and out of trades. But that daily, you know how I feel when the daily crosses, especially with divergences. I'm not trying to short that at all. Made a nice little profit on my Microsoft puts. That's what I'm talking about. Good job. I'm glad we brought this up. It's a very, very good setup here. Same with Google. It's a very good setup. You see the 30-minute divergence. You see the 2-hour divergences up here. It's just a very good setup to see these lower prices. So we're seeing lower prices right now, able to break through this level here for 2078. I think this is the weekly. I think I was trying to give you guys the weekly for Microsoft. So it's approaching its weekly expected move today. Look at that going down towards 420.98. Solid time to take profit, little chaos. And we're going to add, I'm just playing with this right now, right? Because we're going to add this most likely to Patreon once we hit 100 members. 3 green trades so far, super easy. Nice. Do you ever look at the 1 minute for trades and indicators, or am I a true degenerate? I don't look at the 1 minute, man. I won't look at the 1 minute unless it's like for fun while Jerome Powell is talking or something like that. And Robert, hopefully that on Boeing was helpful. Infrastructure collapse combined with CRE collapse will force Fed to cut soon. So Richard, are you leaning towards like a cyber attack or something? I mean, I'll tell you my opinion, Family Adventures, not a bad thing at all. I traded Apple for like 2 months straight. I traded Apple for like 2 months straight during that bear market, and I did not feel bad about it in the slightest. TLT is green, and this is what's making me think, is he going to do something funky with like a rate cut or something like that? Because, are we going to cut those rates? This is where, if TLT explodes, this is where you have to be like, oh God, something really bad could be coming around the corner here, and it might be coming up pretty fast. So now that I say that out loud, it really makes me want to sell stuff. We'll keep it a little longer. We'll wait for this to fully play out. The 2 hours crossed. Oh, 2 hour hasn't crossed yet. If that 2 hour gets denied, I want to see if this structure plays out before I get out of anything. Especially if this continues on into tomorrow. Nothing to worry about here. So for a second there, you're like, ooh, this thing, TLT started to pop up. I was like, TLT at 82.50. But I just want to make sure I'm like trading like water myself as well. Sometimes it's a little bit difficult because I'm talking to you guys the whole time. But would a rate cut be the official signal for recession in your opinion? Well, if they announce that they are going to cut rates, we could see positivity. But if tomorrow or Friday he comes out and says we have to cut rates, that would be a bad thing for the market. So when those rates actually do get cut, that's usually because something is broken. And at least every time in history, every single time that inversion is undone of the yield curve, it has led to some kind of correction, some kind of crash, some kind of bear market. Yeah, so it's helpful. I'm in a trade, but if the indicator lean against me, I will be looking to get out. Yeah, okay, good job. Trading like water. Nvidia found its bottom. Yeah, let's go look at Nvidia. Remember, 880 was really what we were paying attention to. It's possible. I actually think the more probable thing that will end up happening here is we're probably going to like do this for a little bit, maybe drop one more time, get a full retest. I would be leaning towards that. But if this just crosses up, goes positive, like we see a V shape, then I'll be more convinced. But if it's kind of just like sideways like this, I'm going to say, ooh, this thing might, this MACD might just look a little bit curvy like this. And then it gets to that center line, we see that cross back down. So I'll be paying attention to this, but we could see that V shape recovered. You really want AMD to recover here, guys. You really want this to recover. This hourly, able to cross. Now you're getting a double cross here, but we weren't able to take out the low. So you have to have multiple reasons to take the trade, right? Just because this cross doesn't mean I say, oh, I'm taking puts. No, cross down into negative territory. Both very good signs. This has been in a negative trend, so that's another good sign. Now it's breaking through. If it breaks through this level right here, get a close below here, then I could say, hey, yeah, this thing might head lower. But if it wants to hold up above this level, I'm not convinced. Yeah, and it depends on the look of the, like, what is going on with the rate cuts. I believe it's like something like right as the rate cuts, or it's like within 18 months or something like that is when you see a collapse, but it's led to recession almost every time. Ooh, you think 15 minutes before close going to get ugly? Oh, VIX. Okay, sorry about that. Pablo, let's do the VIX for you. The VIX here is starting to curl up, go positive. We can see volatility come back in on the hourly here, but the 2 hours, what I'm paying attention to, I really could see this still dipping down before that happens. So now I'm paying attention to a 30-minute, seeing if I can create any divergences on the 30-minute for myself on the VIX. But here's the thing, the market still can hold higher as the volatility starts to scale up. Okay, so if volatility scales up while the market heads higher, that might be a big red flag that something really bad is coming around the corner. So that could mean something is coming as far as this week, next week goes. So if volatility remains higher, we'll notify you in the YouTube videos tonight. Okay, Q's. Maybe this is all left shoulder still, head, right shoulder. We could still see positivity as we are holding above our weekly expected move, as we are holding above our 20. So just be worrisome if the 20 starts to get lost. Then we can start to talk about some things. But Nvidia back above a 900. Good, 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 good. Inviting me to event. Ooh, okay. Carlos, thanks for grabbing that horse this morning. Appreciate that. He's staring at emails the whole time I'm hanging with you guys. Oh, there we go. All right, let's scroll through here. Let's see if Apple's still holding up. I really want to just keep this on a 15-minute. I'm just going to keep it on a 15-minute. Looking for 1 or 2 trades for today, and I'm straight back to bed. Hey, that's perfectly fine. You know, make your money, get out, and then have a good rest of your day. That's the best way to do it. And that's why I really encourage, like, you know, that mentality, Tebow. You know, look at that going into this weekend. We do have Friday. That could be good or bad news. But if you just want to have a good weekend and be like, I'm just going to stay out of this, that's something that I'm leaning towards. I'll just keep my hedge plays to the downside and not really take anything to the upside unless I see some very, very good looks going into that. But he could just come out and say, we're cutting rates and we're going into recession. He ain't going to do that. He's going to say, you know, we're following the data and the data still looks pretty good. And it's going to be very vague, the usual. $2,000. I know it's not a lot, but what stock would you invest in? If I were you, Roman, and you have $2,000, I would highly suggest, if you're working, to add to that $2,000. Okay, so here's the thing. If you're just starting out, it is great that you want to learn about this stuff. It is fantastic. You have time to learn now. Look at where the dollar is. Your dollar is becoming, that $2,000 is becoming worth more and more. So if you're able to, you know, be patient, work for some years, save up 10 grand, save up 12 grand, something like that, you can go into the Qs and say, oh, well, if something really bad happens, my dollar's valuable. Even if this is a pullback to the 200 and then we go higher, well, maybe around here, maybe I can save another $500, buy this somewhere around 400, and then we see that curl back up. So the way I would utilize your time right now, you know, learn about stocks, learn about these indicators, learn why they're important, learn about the center line, learn how to trade short time frames, learn how to trade in a bear market, learn all those things while you can, and your dollar's valuable, because then these stocks will eventually pull back and you will have all the skills you need to trade this back up to the upside. And then if you do take my course, you'll get a bear market strategy. So if this starts to act like a bear market where it really starts to sell off, you can learn how to take a trade here, take a trade here, take a trade here, take a trade here. So it is an opportunity for you to save money as your dollar is becoming more valuable. Tiffany, that's pretty much what I'm saying. So I know that's not what you want to hear. Everyone in the market wants to hear, buy this stock, make $10,000 with $1,000. That's just not the way I do things. That's not the way that you should do things, because you will build bad habits. Build good habits, learn how to trade, and then use that going forward. Learn how to be risk managed, learn all of those things, and it will really help you out in the long run. We say in the course plenty of times that the fastest way to make money in the stock market is the slow way, unless you're one of those 1 out of a million people who just gets lucky. Yeah, JP, he's really shat the bed for me, honestly. I do not, you guys, if anyone knows me, at least my family and stuff, they know I'm very hypercritical of Jerome Powell. I think he is blatantly lying to the United States for the last couple years. I think he didn't think it was transitory. I didn't think he thought it was transitory, the inflation. I think that's very obvious it wasn't transitory, and he told everyone it was. And ever since then, I haven't trusted it. Nvidia could be reaching a threefold fan. Sorry for my English. Sorry, Sophia. I don't know what threefold fan is. But try to explain. Bought some Nvidia at 900, and it makes sense. It's just me. I would like to have more reasons to take the trade than just saying, "Oh, this is buying back up." I at least want this 15-minute to curl back up, because look at this. We could flag. We could flag here and go hit 880. We could break through 880 and we could see something bad, but we could flag like this, right? So I just want to make sure this is very good selling. So you most likely will see this continue. If you flag out, it's going to continue. And then you have to see, are we going to hold up around 880? But if this goes vertical, if this just does a V shape, then I'd be more convinced. Yeah, recession can expand. And I know Japan just like raised rates or something like that. Yeah, and that's a very good point, Family Adventures. Very good point. I did the same thing too. We talked about when I first got into trading when I was like 20, I think I lost like $6,000 because I was a fundamental trader and it was like all the money I had or something like that. It was about, I think I lost $5 out of $6,000. But I had a fundamental trade. I was a fundamental trader. And a few years later, I started to look at technicals and I was like, okay, this is my vibe. And I just went 100% into it, learned, started trading, built up about 10 grand and started trading. Built that up to about 20, kept trading. Trading can be very ugly at first. You don't know the mistakes you can make. Even stupid mistakes like accidentally clicking put instead of call, accidentally hitting sell instead of buy more. Like that stuff does happen early on. You're a little bit more careful about it when you're a little bit more careful about it once you've done it for a while. If this without a timeline attached, all transitory means is not permanent. Doesn't contain any context. Well, as of right now, it is definitely not trans. It is sticky. It is very, very sticky. Not permanent. Yeah, I think we will see some things taper back a little bit in price with the recession, but ultimately you're growing at 2% per year. So technically you will always be going higher with prices. Mara got a bounce. Whoa, that's a good bounce. Ooh, that is a good bounce. And we were talking about this. We were like, if it doesn't cut below this low, looks pretty good. Dang, look at that curl up 30-minute, maybe going positive here. Kind of a wonky head and shoulders, right, within our flag here. So see if that wants to break to the upside. That's looking pretty good. I would look at that 2 hour. Is that 2 hour going to cross back up? Okay, once that 2 hour divergence is there, maybe be a little but solid. Is fundamental trading even a thing now? I would say yes. I think fundamentals are okay as long as you're not taking in too much. If you're reading about every single stock, the fundamentals you should be aware of are the important ones. As of right now, data drops and things like that. Yeah, I'll look at the VIX in a moment. Data drops and things like that, you have to pay attention to it. Why? Because the Fed said we have to pay attention to it. But you can look what stocks look like before those events and then set yourself up for your risk to reward. Look at where the trend was going before. Look how Jerome Powell has talked in the past. That is more helpful than just reading into every news article that's like, we could raise rates tomorrow. It's like, yeah, let me just wait till I see what he says, and then we'll go from there. Volatility. Never going back to 2%, and that's very possible. We'd have to see something pretty bad to get back down to 2%. Volatility, yeah, looking at that again, we're just seeing that pop a little bit here. But as we maybe see some positivity in the market, Mara's starting to see some positivity. I want to see the SPY here on the 15-minute. I know I'm looking at volatility, but it's good to look at the SPY with the volatility. I mean, this thing is still sitting pretty close in the middle here on the 15-minute. You do have technically not really divergence with this, but you do have divergence at these lows here. You got to be a little worried going down from here just because you do have, cup, handle. Good thing we bought back up through this level, but that kind of tells me that this level here is important as we gap above it and we see support come in. So I'd say if we're going to see that support, I'd like to see it very, very soon. Let's see what Nvidia's doing. See, we're not seeing extreme buying up there. Well, if Mara's popping, what is Bitcoin doing? Let's see if this sees a pop soon. And then ARM, I'm assuming, just looks like hell right now. Oof. Okay. It's the only time we'll do it. 5-minute divergence, guys, on ARM. You have a 5-minute divergence on ARM. I'm just going to tell you, I don't have any expected moves or anything like this, so use it at your own will, but you do have 5-minute divergence, however much you want to put behind that, how much, validity, validation you want to put behind that. But this here, it's coming up into a support level, or coming down into a support level. You have 5-minute divergence. You can get some kind of bounce, but you are within the structure, so be a little careful if that bounce doesn't last. Make sure that everything's going positive for quite some time here. How's that Microsoft trade looking? Pretty good as we do approach the bottom side of the weekly expected move with divergence. Oh my, what is Microsoft telling us? Is it saying it's going to go higher? It very well might. 3% is the new 2%. Remember when you look at real inflation, it was like 27%, and the Fed was telling you like, oh, but we don't calculate those things. It's only 8%. Nvidia 2-hour. Yeah, so this bad boy, this cross, that's a crash indication. You just want to be a little bit cautious. It's been bullish for quite some time. So even though this is a crash indication. It very well could happen. You shouldn't be taking any calls. Once you see this bar right around 940, you should be like, okay, the target is down. Where am I going to target? Well, maybe I'm going to target the 20-day moving average. It sits right around 880. So we're holding above the 20 at this moment. There's time, but we're screwed. Yeah, and it's kind of like however long they would just want to keep it going until something breaks. That's why I'm leaning towards Black Swan. I think everyone's too scared to actually say like, yeah, things don't look good. We're going into recession. We need to raise these rates and tackle the problem. We're not. I don't think anyone actually will do that. So that is why I'm saying a Black Swan is most likely going to be the thing. Inflation is really double digits. Yeah. Stocks only go up. That's why the technicals are more important. If you read everything that's out there, you'd be like, holy crap, the stock market's at 0. And then you read some more and you see some positivity and you see which way the market's going. Well, it's going up. So that's why I'm just stating, even though people might scream crash while Nvidia pulls back, the 20s right here, we kind of reacted off of it a few times, you know what I'm saying? So I wouldn't be too worried unless that gets lost. Oh, yeah. I think I saw... Oh, my gosh. It's crazy. Let's see where I would have gotten to this move if I had done some work on this stock right here and right here. 2 buys. Two kind of buys right here. Right here, this price point here was where I would have bought. Right around 380. Hold that for quite some time. Damn, that would have paid. Unlucky. You guys got to show me these before those big moves happen. What the hell? Ooh, Microsoft. Ooh, this is... Okay, Microsoft, be very, very careful here. If this confirms a triple divergence up here, that would be bad. Now, you don't necessarily have that. You have multiple point, right? You have one here, one across the way here. But this looks very, very bad for Microsoft going forward. Here comes the SPY dump. Let's see. It might dump down. We'll have to see if that 20 can hold up. If they raise rates, it defeats the purpose. If they don't, we continue on an unsustainable path. There's no out. Yeah, so if they raise rates, most likely we have a prolonged Great Recession, is what I would think. If they cut rates suddenly because something breaks, or if they cut too early, we could actually see stocks surge higher and see oil go higher, and we'll go through an inflation crisis that will cause a depression. Hyperinflation will cause a depression. People will not be able to buy bread. People won't be able to pay their electricity at that point. So you don't want that to happen. Calendar in the market, watch. The consensus for PC is higher than last month. Consensus for core PC is steady, 2.1 lower. These metrics have been coming in hot. They have, and that's what's unique. I mean, what is Jerome Powell? Let's look this up. We got to see why Jerome Powell is talking on Friday. But he can come out, we can get bad data, and then he's just like, everything's fine, and the market goes up. So let's take a look here what he is doing. Nine. A moderated discussion with Kai Rizdal at the Federal Reserve Bank of San Francisco Macroeconomics and Monetary Policy Conference, San Francisco, California. There's no way he is talking bearish at that. There is no way. Like, come on. There's no way. Mortgages, loans. Like I said, everything's on credit these days. None of the money really exists, so... In Taiwan? I actually don't know. Oh, sorry about that. Okay. So here's something interesting. You were asking about Taiwan, and I looked up the AI systems and chips. So Miller recently explained that 90% of the chips used to train or improve AI systems are produced by just one company. That company is the Taiwan Semiconductor Manufacturing Company, TSMC. Let me look that up. Ooh, this is fun. Ooh. Oh, that's nothing. Never mind. That was not fun. But that is interesting. Nice job, Hector. Yes, Taiwan is the major manufacturer of chips. Hey, I look at technicals. But it's fun. Like, that actually does matter. I can buy groceries for Hector. Hopefully you're not trading for that. But I hear you, man. I was like that at one point. When I first was trading with my 10,000 I saved up, I think it took me forever to build that thing up because I used it to pay bills most of the time, like buy food and stuff like that. I think I made about $2,200 a month when I first started out with the technical side of trading. What's making the S&P 500 continue to go lower? I still think that whoever came in first thing in the morning and just told me like, hey, quarter one's ending, we could be repositioning. I'm like, yeah, that makes sense, because what would they reposition to? Stocks that have gotten beat down, stocks that have come down lower. Has Apple really gotten great news? No. So Apple could be something they're rotating into. Oh, TSM. Oh, yeah, TSM. Okay, okay. I've actually looked at this before, too. Ooh, is this divergence holding? Not really, having that kind of flatness on the MACD. Downward here on the RSI for that divergence. So this could overall be a pullback. Remember, the 20, very important, right? Look at this. 20, 20, 20, 20. Right here we hit the 51, so we did see positivity from the 50. So if we do drop to here, potential there. But you have to say if we lose the 20, we're probably heading to the 50. Like, were you making 2,200 trading with 10K? Yes, I was. It was a bull market and I was swing trading. It is the easiest thing in the world. And yes, I was making about that much. Yes, a month. Why, thank you. Yeah, actually, the way I did it was I would swing trade some cryptos, which sometimes wouldn't work out the best. And then I would swing trade, I believe it was Apple or Tesla. I think it was both. I think I did a little bit of Apple, a little bit of Tesla. And then at that point, I actually was a part of some watch list, and I would just look through those and pick one that looked like it had some solid moves. But yeah, I was able to make a good amount back then. There was a couple months where I'd make $6,000. That's what I'm saying. If you do the work, if you work on your mentality, like be patient and things like that, it really will help you out. That course is $100, and I can tell you I paid a hell of a lot more for all the courses I took. It took like thousands of dollars probably. Where do you trade cryptos? Well, back then I traded Dogecoin. Back then I actually traded Dogecoin. You guys know I actually turned $100 into like $6,000 with Dogecoin, and then I traded that a few more times. Built that up to about 10. And then back then I actually this is a good story. Okay, so back then I had a few $100s of Dogecoin, and I noticed that it was just ripping to the upside. I bought it at like 0.006008 or something like that, and it went up to like 10 20 cents something. And or I don't know how much it went up, but it went up very dramatically, and to the point where I was like, oh crap, I have Dogecoin sitting in a wallet, in a crypto wallet on my old computer that's at my old house. And so I had to like, it was at because I rented while my buddy was deployed. I rented his place, and so it was at his place, and he was deployed, but his fiance was here, so I had to like go figure out how to get it, and then the computer like wouldn't work because it was a Mac, and it just like wouldn't. It took about 30 minutes just to turn on. I was shitting my pants for a little bit there. I think people will panic too, and that's why I'm saying like we could see a correction if we see like a dramatic one. We could come all the way down to this 200 for Nvidia. I think if we get a pullback, I would say the 50 has a good shot here to hold up. Right, we do something like do this, bounce up, bounce down, get a little trickle, bounce down again, then we kind of base out like that. So something like this could set up in the future. That's what I'd be looking for if it was a pullback, but the way the market is behaving right now, you have to say something is on the verge of breaking. TLT kind of telling you that. Look at this. Buy signal on TLT. This thing starts to rip. That means they are going to force these rates to come down. And the only reason that would happen is something's really breaking in the system. Something's very sick. So I would look for volatility. Once that curls up into positive territory, you see, and it's just, you want to pay attention to the points in time where a big bad news could come out. This is one of those times. Look how close it is to curling up. If we just get this to get some positivity for 2 days, boom, that thing can start to skyrocket. It's the worst to lose your crypto keys. That it literally was like a 4-hour process of the most anxiety you have, because imagine you turned like $100 or $200 into $6,000. Like, come on. Like, I know that's not the most money in the world, but that's such a huge percentage gain. All right, guys, I'm gonna leave you guys on the SPY real quick for a moment. I'm just gonna use the restroom, okay? Actually, let's do the Qs, and we'll just do a 15-minute. And just remember that the 20-day moving average is sitting right at about 440, okay? So we're gonna leave you guys on this for a moment. Let me go use the restroom, and I will be right back. I might go say hi to my girls. Right now, you have to pay attention as well, Cup. If we form some kind of handle, watch out for a lower high. What we can see is that curl up, curl back down in negative territory for the MACD here. So I would pay attention to that. Interesting to see, though, that we are maybe going to break down before Jerome Powell talks on Friday. So pay attention to that going forward. Jed Luke, I love your second name, Luke, because my name's Luke as well. But appreciate you joining the channel. Thank you so much for subscribing. And I'll just leave you guys on this for a moment, and I'll be right back. Kevin Lukey. Why are everyone named Luke is joining? What the heck is going on while I'm gone? Did I accidentally put a SEO of people named Luke? Love it, man. Thank you so much for joining. I think I called you Kevin. I'm sorry. Kelvin. Focus. Come on, camera. It'll get there. Baby girl not crying today. Hopefully her tummy is better. I'll tell you guys, I know it's like TMI on this channel, but I really like that you guys are, you're very nice. Talk about my daughter all the time. You guys are very, very nice. I really appreciate that, Pariah. She just, yesterday, she just stuck her tongue out once. And Luke Cassidy, look at that. We have all kinds of Lukes in here. Yeah, it's just she stuck her tongue out for 1 second, and I was like, let me see if she'll toot. And I just like held her for 2 seconds in that position, and just immediately it sounded like a balloon deflating at a birthday party, like flying across the room. It was hilarious. I literally could see her stomach go like, but do you expect Microsoft to go down a lot later in the week? Well, just remember that close is tomorrow. And for Microsoft, I actually did give you the weekly expected moves here. Okay, so pay attention to the 15-minute as you are creating divergence down here by that weekly expected move. So that just tells me, hey, I could see some positivity coming out of Microsoft soon. This just tells you on the 15-minute, the hourly can turn back up. Now, as you go negative, you have to lean a little bit towards like, hey, we could make a lower high. But if this wanted to curl up, go positive, you do have that chance to come test this level. All the Lukes coming in. Powell speaks on Friday is what I saw, right after PCE, which is very interesting. Now he is speaking at some macroeconomic conference. Highly, highly doubt that at a conference he is going to be overly bearish or not dovish. Let's put it that way. Now, one thing to note here about Microsoft, you can see lower, right? But we see these divergences. It's getting close to the center line. Hasn't broken through yet, though. So maybe we want to look at a daily. You can see even if we head a little bit lower, what's below us? The 20. We haven't even broke below the 20. But over time here, this triple divergence, I believe, will play out eventually. I just think we have maybe one more push left in it. And then we know that around the 10th of April, what do we get? CPI. Okay, so that could be huge. But we could see some kind of reaction up. We could also see this react down, test the 50, and then see that push up maybe with CPI later on. So we have to be open to a bunch of things here. But once this does confirm and go negative, it is looking very bad for Microsoft. Growing out of a lot of cute stuff. My wife, the Shein mom. Dude, mine too. Oh, that's so funny. We get a ton of clothes right now, but I'll keep it in mind. All right, I'll ask her if we can get some clothes. If we need some clothes, we got to call Luke, the other Luke, not me. I smell a buy-in point for me, and yeah, I would totally understand. These are the trade setups we look for, right? So this is something that I would pay attention to. You just want to be cautious in the market, make sure we're holding above those 20s and those things. But that's how we found Apple. That's how we found this one here. I'm going to be very quick with this trade most likely and look for the next one. But as Apple, if this 2 hour just curls up, I can be more confident in this move. So if I see that curl up, we can see that positivity really start to come in. Futures are open. It's just that volume's going to be... Actually, the volume will be low. That'll be very interesting to see what happens on Friday. But I still think, you guys, I'm going to be genuine. I think he's like, we are dependent on the data. So why is he going to come out and do something when he just said he's dependent on the data? So he's going to expect the data to do it. I keep my eye on companies that are hitting new highs. No way those are sustainable in short term, but easy breakthrough point in the long. Yeah, I mean, there's tons of ways to trade. And the point of this channel is just to give you guys how I see things. And it's also to give you guys things like weekly ranges, things that are very helpful for taking profit. I can tell you right now, this Apple play, what am I going to do? I'm going to go over to Patreon. I'm going to look where the upside range is. If this curls over this week and we get outside of that range going into close tomorrow, I don't really want to take that trade over the weekend as a just in case the PCE comes out as bad for the market on Friday. I'll just keep my short hedging. and then get out of Apple, take my profit at about 100%. Light? Kyle? Go for it. They also scheduled JP a speech for 3:30. Interesting. I wonder if something's breaking, because if something is breaking, he has to mention it. And look at TLT. Like, that is just... that is garbage at this point. Volatility going back down negative at this point. But TLT, this is a warning sign. I'm just being genuine here. But Kyle, shoot. Let's look at some fun ones. Give us some fun ones. Okay, let's check it out. Ooh, right away, 2-hour divergence. I knew it right before it loaded. Okay, so you have 2-hour divergence here. So I'm going to tell you just a quick thing, and you can learn more about this on my course. It's only $100 for the next 4 days. Okay, so if you want to learn this type of stuff, this is a double top. Okay, you're seeing that divergence up here on the MACD, RSI at the same time. When you take the course, you're going to know what a lot of this means. Now, we are buying back up. So in order for this to, I would say this has confirmed, for you to be more confident, you need that to go negative. And then to be very, very confident in holding this to the downside, if you are trading that way, you want this daily to cross over. The funny thing about the daily crossing over, you're pretty dang close to negative territory. So if it sees some weakness, maybe breaks below this low, you might be creeping into negative territory. And then in the future, you can say, okay, maybe this does create some kind of divergence down here that I can take a trade, but we're just looking at the trade right now. 2-hour divergence. If that goes negative, look at the daily. If that crosses over, you can be more confident. Gian, I'm sorry if I just butcher your name. Is this it? I don't even think I've looked at this, guys. Ooh, good divergence there. So you guys want to see how to take a trade to the upside here? This would be it. This is it. Look at this right here. We see this. We see this. We see that momentum died out. Look at that. This is so significant. Do you know why this is very, very good? Because look how close it is to crossing that center line there on the RSI. This is usually something we don't get to talk about a lot, because usually the RSI is like still going over. But look at that. It's so close. It's not even in the oversold territory for this divergence. It's really, really close there. Look at that. You buy on this. Actually, where would you buy this? If you're confident in it, you do your research, right? This is below the 200, but your buy point's actually right at 171, goes up to 242. You guys know, though, I don't like to trade things that are that low of value. It's just fishy to me. But that is how you would look at it. Now, SoFi we can definitely look at. SoFi we can look at. Okay, this one here, you see flatness maybe on the RSI, a little flat on the RSI. Down on the MACD. So you don't necessarily have that divergence, but what you have here is price getting tighter and tighter, is how I see it, right? So you see this, we can connect these, and we can say a breakout might be coming. Maybe you see that react up here, get tight, and then you see that explosive moves. Maybe around earnings, we can see that explosive move up. So that's what I would pay attention to with this. Not a ton to pay attention to. Probably a 2-hour divergence down here. Yep, there it is. So if you want your little trade with not a lot of steam behind it, I might add. Okay, well, look at this. 2-hour divergence. Take my play right here. Get that move up. Decent move there. It's just kind of a weaker thing here. And then I can look, okay, now, okay, is there going to be some downside here? Well, I have 30-minute divergence. So you see how I can bounce around really quickly and find these trades. And then I can also say, because I've learned a lot about how to draw up these patterns, boom, look at this up here. What if we do something like this? What if we get that reaction up and then we start to head up with a head and shoulders? Then that would take us up to here, but maybe we consolidate on the daily scale. So that's just a quick run through there. What is Nvidia doing? Oh, look at that. We're starting to dip lower. Let's see what happens here. See, now we can look at, guess what? That 880 is going to be a very important spot. Let's even go look at where our weekly expected move is. Oh my goodness. Guess where we are at on Nvidia. I'm going to give you guys one guess where we're at on Nvidia. It's just one guess. If we actually came down to it, almost to it. But if we go down to this level right here, I'm going to guess where we would be. Yeah, I'm like 950 for AG&C, like 212 for Tilray, and around 550 in SoFi. So even a little downside wouldn't necessarily hurt that much. And you are choosing stocks that have been beat down for a while. So I would hope that you're looking at this from an investment standpoint. Happy Friday with the money answer. Happy Friday. It's gonna be a happy Friday if Jerome Powell comes out and says something a little crazy. So the 5-minute, you can pay attention to this going into today. You do have another day and a half left in the market, but if this happens, good chance you get a bounce from 880. I'll just put it that way. At the lower range, DeBoost has got it. Oh, for sure, this is a risky choice as well. Looking at ETF and AMD blue chip and blue chips. Yeah, that's just how I'm looking at it. But SoFi, I would say SoFi is usually not the worst thing to trade. It's just things are a little beat down on all those, so it's a good outlook if you're investing and looking to hold. See, even Michael, he agrees with you. Gigo, I think you've posted this a few times, so I'm going to take a look at it for you, okay? Let's look at Celsius for you. Whoo, big drop off. Let's start off on a daily, see what things are looking like. We're dipping lower. Look where we're at. Look where we're at. We're on the 20. What did we use to ride this up? Well, we reacted off of it once right here. So if we start to lose that 20, you're getting pretty tight in here. You could head to that 50, but let's go into a shorter time frame. Look at the 2 hour, because as you can see here, we're not breaking through the important line in the sand, I would say, right? This could be maybe something like this, right? Slanted head and shoulders here. So left head, right shoulder breaks through, measured move here. Look for that to go down. But as far as like slanted resistances, slanted supports, you know, most of the time when you do break through an area, you want to look for this right here, most likely to be closed below. I would say this level right here, very important. If you're able to hold up at the 20 though, we can just see this curl back up into positive territory. We can see that happen, but you'll notice right, we're just now starting to go negative. So if that goes negative, you can see further downside. But I would just state that up here, you do have potential like weird head and shoulders. But if you hold up at this level and you see that curl back up positive, it could be good. Just be a little careful once you start to cut below like 83.50. Maybe a 30-minute gave us a divergence over here. And not the best divergence to pay attention to. These are kind of wonky to pay attention to. They're really far apart. You see how far apart they are. This one here, not really giving you divergence at this point. So, yeah. Not looking the best from the daily scale, right? It's crossed over, but you'll notice that if we hold up at the 20, it would be a good thing. If we don't hold up at the 20, well, maybe the 50 gets to something like here and we catch up to that. So I pay attention to Max Payne just for where people are really piling on puts and calls. Like the fact that Nvidia saw a skyrocket in calls at 1,000. It's like way higher than it was yesterday. I think that that's very interesting. And it's even funnier because maybe those people, maybe we're going to see that change tomorrow because this is pretty bad for those $1,000 calls for this to happen. They are, you know, that's tomorrow that they're looking for that to happen. And that's not happening as of right now. Okay. So that's something to just be a little bit worried about. You know, that selling can really pile on if those people sell out on their calls, take it the other direction. That very well might have happened. Like someone said this morning, this could be repositioning. That's why like Apple going up was interesting. Now we got Cup. Maybe this is all the handle we need. I would like some more consolidation to get a big move personally, but maybe this is like, hey, we've built up liquidity long enough. Let's go. We'll have to see if that happens. Oh, I just looked at Celsius. Just rewind a little bit, Gigo. I looked at it for you. Celsius, you can go just rewind like literally 2 minutes. Rebalancing 101. See, that's yeah. And I love that, you know, that overall it seemed like people might have been freaking out going into today. That's why in the video we're like, take a deep breath, think of this a little bit slower. Think about it like using your knowledge, using your trading capabilities, using all the stuff you use to trade. We haven't even lost the 20 yet. And then someone comes in and goes, they're rebalancing, and I'm like, of course, yeah. Shit, that makes total sense. Therefore, that makes sense why Apple would go up, Nvidia comes down, and then probably Nvidia holds above its 20. Thank you guys for coming out, liking, and subscribing. You guys are awesome. We got some new subscribers in here today. A bunch of Lukes, bunch of Lukies. That's what we like to see on this channel. Let's get all the Lukes in here. All right, let's go look at some stuff. Make sure we're saying all the stuff here. Sam Townsley, are you here? Sam? 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 Yeah, that's my bad habit, guys. You get to see it. I just want to say, Sam, thank you so much for buying the course. You are going to love it. Only $100 for 4 more days, guys. Then it's going to go up to $199. So thank you so much, Sam, for buying that. Really appreciate that. I apologize. Good job. This is just what happens when you rebalance with too many eggs in one basket. And that's yeah, I'd say that's true. One interesting thing, AMD, look at that. We said, you know, it doesn't want to break below this low. And even though this hourly crossed, you still have to pay attention to your supports here. Look at that. There's your fake out. Now we can start to head higher from here, actually. So AMD kind of saying, hey, I'm basing out, which is a good thing because it was about to lose its 50 on the daily. So pay attention to that. Meta coming up into a point where we could grab some liquidity. We have to see as Meta is, I believe, outside. Is it outside, guys? Outside of that weekly expected move? Let's go check it out. Ooh, Meta is outside of its weekly expected move, which you would have known if you're over on Patreon, all right? So if you guys are interested in those weekly expected moves, this is Meta telling you, like, hey, I'll probably see a bounce from this level. Microsoft is almost there. This is the one we gave you guys over on YouTube to show you guys what's happening here. So as you can see, we're struggling to see some dramatic selling once we get around this area. That's how you can use these weekly ranges. The options market has only priced in, and this is what all of these ranges mean on the SPY and the Qs. The whole week, it only priced in this much price action. We're heading down to it before the close. So you could say there's a 68% chance that we do land in this zone. So if we come outside of that, you can land in this zone 68% of the time. 32% chance something crazy happens, but we've been really landing in these zones lately. So unless something really bad happens, I'm expecting this to get that little 15-minute divergence to cross up, and we'll see what happens from there. As of right now, it failed to cross once into positive territory. We'll see if that actually curls up. Make sure to wait for those confirmations, guys. You will make plenty. You will have a very decent position on a 15-minute if you just wait for this to cross. You don't need to get in at the actual bottom. Mara, 5% up. Let's see if it can break through now. Now, one thing you don't want to happen for Mara, we did see this strong move up. We do have some potential to head higher. We have an ABC pattern that could play out. But now, just be open to it. You always want to be open to it. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but left, what if this is head, and then we come right back down, create a right shoulder, boom, we start to fall. So just be open to it. Doesn't mean change anything. Still, you want to see 15-minute. Did the hourly curl up? Look at that. It's about to. So Mara looking pretty good going forward right now. I got dogs just staring at me right now. All right, guys, I'm refreshing. I'm seeing how many likes we got. I'll mute for a second. Hey, Marina, thank you so much for that. Really appreciate it. I'll go look so I make sure to thank you, okay? Boom. Thank you for the donation. Thank you for the $5. Now I can go buy more coffee. And trust me, wifey likes that as well. She likes her morning coffee, even though she has to use almond milk now, which is very sad. Thank you, thank you. You guys know I love it when you guys give me some coffee. So 10 more likes to hit that 1,000, or hit that 100. As about the course, I will go over it this weekend. Yeah, I was saying thank you, Carlos. I was trying to see where you were at, but I don't know if you were here. Let me see. I just looked at that, but thank you so much for buying that course. I really think you'll like it. And like I said, you can send me an email with any questions that you do have. Watch it multiple times. You do own it once you buy it. It's not like you buy it and then it goes away in a month. You should own it the whole time. The dog is so cute. Yeah, that's our old man. That's Toby. We got a bunch of ones. We got 3 dogs. We just moved here, so our place is small and it's hard. Yes, Sophia. Oh, sorry. This possible crash would affect Bitcoin-related stocks. Yes, it will. Pretty much you have to think of it like this. Just like gold, people can run to Bitcoin for a inflationary hedge. So therefore, Bitcoin can see higher prices over time. If we go through a deflationary event, that means the price of Bitcoin could deflate. So the price of these stocks will deflate. That's overall how you want to think about it. And that just tells you that Bitcoin could correct, Bitcoin could crash, and therefore things like Mara, things like that could also crash down as well. Mara already making those lower moves. Fourth year of the decade is 90% green, election year 90% green. Yeah, very possible. I don't think Inks. I don't think I even know what that stock is, to be totally honest. So now this is where super microcomputers would probably want to hold up, right? Remember those moving averages right here. Where do we stop? The 20. Look at that. We say it in the YouTube video. The 20. This is one we're thinking about adding to the Patreon. Gotta go. Matthew, thank you so much for stopping by. Matthew's always like the second person in here, first person in here. Thank you for stopping by, Matthew. Appreciate you and hope you have a good day. Look at that. Touch on the 20. Let's see if we can hold support there. If we want to dip down to the 50, that would make some sense. I'll take a quick look. Let me see. Vertiv? Is that what it is? I don't think I've looked at this. Ooh, okay. So you do have the divergences across the RSI, not necessarily on the MACD. Losing the 5, look out, you might be going to test the 20. Notice the 20 held you up here. Couldn't fully close, you closed below it, but you bought right back up. So I'd pay attention to touches of the 20 at this point if you're going to see some kind of small pullback here. Oh, okay. Oh, that's awesome. That's actually really, really cool. And it's VRT. Nice. Okay, cool. I like that. See, you guys helped me out too. But look at this run. I would just say, be a little cautious. This thing's blowing off the top. You're not seeing those divergences on the MACD, but you see them on the RSI down here. Shorter time frame, probably 2 hour. Look if that wants to curl up, but maybe you come down to say the 50 or something. Remember, these little touches here were this touch here was the 20. This touch here was the 20. So you could say that 20 is probably sitting right around $75. Yeah, I may stay out of Bitcoin or Mara, because Mara looks a little different. It looks like it can make a move higher soon. Bitcoin looks like it can make a move higher soon. I want to be clear about that as well, right? This could cup and handle out a little bit up here. So we try to get up towards the high, create that cup. Now we can see if we create that handle, see that pop up. You guys know the 4 hour is what I really like to pay attention to. Look at this up here, crosses over, gets positive, boom, 4 hour goes positive right here on this bar, 65,600, boom, goes all the way up to 72,000 there, or something like that. So 4 hour is a very good one to watch on Bitcoin. I would highly suggest not trying to use anything you learn about stocks for the shorter time frames on Bitcoin. I would really do 4 hour, weekly, and dailies. We could do that. Maybe that's what we'll do on Friday. We could go live for Jerome Powell in the morning, maybe. Whichever talk seems more important. So the 4 hour, I just prefer this because it trades all the time. So I know that I really like my 30-minute, my 2 hour, and my dailies for the individual stocks that trade during market hours, but since Bitcoin trades all the time, it can see crazier things happen. So if you go into a 15-minute, you're going to see probably 1,000 times throughout this area where you saw divergences and 5 divergences, 3 divergences, this. I just want to make it look cleaner. And overall, I know that Bitcoin is going to move a pretty good amount. I don't need to do any kind of micro managing. I just need to be like, okay, let me go look. 4 hour, what's going to happen? Okay, what's going to happen on this 4 hour? Well, we see, okay, triple divergence. Maybe I start selling along all this. Sell, sell, get out. Look at that. 4 hour divergence is what tipped me off. Boom. Comes down into negative territory. I see it pop up, crosses back down. That means I don't need to buy at that point. Now it crosses back up. Okay, still don't buy at that point. Cross back down, buy back up, went positive. Now I take that buy at 66. So hopefully that was helpful. I just would highly encourage you to study Bitcoin on a 4 hour, a daily, and a weekly. Because if you would have just done Bitcoin on like a weekly, this is so cool. This is so simple. And I just don't trade Bitcoin anymore for the most part. I like my individual stocks. I like talking about it with you guys. So this is very cool. What do you learn in the course? You learn a lot about the MACD and the center line and how important positive negative territory is. Okay, so that's something you'll learn in the course. $100 for 4 more days. But you'll see this cross up. Look at this part. Crossed up, broke through the resistance, crossed up into positive territory. What happened after that? Boom. There's your entry right there. So your entry was 34,000. And then boom, you could have doubled your money. Check the like count. I'm checking. No. Let me go back to let me go back to Nvidia too, real quick. And there's the flagging happening a little bit there. So just pay attention, you know, that weekly expected move just below us, 880, very, very important for Nvidia here. Let's check that like count, guys. What are we at? We need 10 more. 104. You get a like, you get a like, you get a like. Okay, Oprah. So looks like we could reach down to there. We'll flip back over once we see that maybe going towards 880. This is what I want to pay attention to as well. Apple, is that handle enough? Did we build up enough liquidity to just see this thing boom to the upside today? We'll have to see. Bull flag on Bitcoin, very possible there. Drake, the singer. I can't believe the rapper Drake is in here right now. That's crazy. Pajama, just hopping back in here. What do you think of the SPY now? Apple is the only thing holding it. Apple does look good, and I think we're probably going to see all of these bounce off their 20-day moving averages. If I had to, you know, gun to my head type thing. SPY not breaking down below these levels. Okay, so here's an important thing with the SPY. We talk about we want to gap above areas that are important. So if it starts to break through here, then you'd start to be a little worrisome, but you still have that gap support down here, sorry. But this level here has to be important for the SPY. Why? We gapped above it. We gapped well above it, but you notice when we sink back down into it, where are we struggling to break? We're struggling to break these lows. So I just say these lows in here are pretty damn important for today. And if you're going to go with, you know, if we're going to see lower prices, then, hey, okay, the weekly expected move is right where that 20 is, the daily expected move. So if we saw this sell off, most likely this would have just went like that and then wicked out up like this. Then we'd maybe see positivity coming the next day. This is where I'd really start to pay attention. If it starts to break through there, then you can be more worried, more bearish. But this is really nothing to worry about just yet. But Jerome Powell talks on Friday, and we have no idea what he's saying. The Drizzy. AMD, this one was able to buy back up. That's what we were talking about. Similar thing to the SPY, right? It needs to break through this level cleanly to really get that downside. Boom, it buys back up. Now, it might come down and touch it or something like that. We'll have to see. I believe that we're not even... I don't even think we're close to the weekly range for AMD. We're a little close, but it's definitely below us. I'll just tell you. 104 likes. Thank you guys so much for showing up today. I really appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you, Family Adventures, for the $20 donation. Thank you, Marina, something like that, for the coffee. $5 for coffee on PayPal. Really appreciate that as well. You guys know there's a PayPal link down below for those donations too. That's just so YouTube doesn't take half of your donation, because they do that. But it smells like cookies. I don't mess around with cookies, guys. SPY going to try to go fill that downside gap. Very, very possible at this point. So if we flush, you know, we got to see, is it going to hold up at this gap, or is it game over? So we might want to look at like a 2 hour or something like that, see if that could, well, that's not going to look the best because it's still continuing downwards. Still, everything's just pointing down at this point. So if we start to break through this level pretty cleanly, we can head towards maybe that weekly expected move even tomorrow. But as you're seeing things hit the bottom side, right? Just think of this critically. Microsoft hitting the bottom side as of right now. Meta hitting the bottom side right now. It's outside of it right now. So you have two stocks that are saying like, hey, I have potential to bounce from here. Apple's still holding that strength going forward. What the hell? Alrighty. I was going to say, oh, now we're at 114 likes. Look at that. Thank you guys so much for liking. I really do appreciate it. Like I always say, if you can't join the Patreon, you can't take the course. Hey, as long as you're liking the video, you're contributing to this community, and that's awesome. It allows me to show up every day. We're hitting that like button. It makes me go, okay, they want me to be here. I'm going to come hang out with them and talk about stocks with some of my favorite people on the board. Okay, so we're looking at Apple, seeing if that thing, it is in positive territory. So you really want to see if this thing can start creeping up. One thing I would start to look at is Microsoft, maybe a 15-minute divergence confirming here. If we can see that positivity, that's very, very important. Let's look at this. If we want to head a little bit lower, look out for that 20. As of right now, you don't want this to keep going. You don't want this to confirm tomorrow. This is a very, very bad signal. If this starts to roll over and go negative, sure, you can see some kind of little bounce to retest the 5, but I'm just stating this is triple divergence, nothing to mess around with here. And weirdly enough, like this is what's crazy. This daily divergence up here. I want to see where that landed. Where did this go negative again? Boom, this bar here, you actually see a tiny daily divergence right here that led to this downturn. That's crazy. Anyway. Amazon starting to turn positive. Nvidia 895. Are you Jerome Powell bullish or bearish? Jerome Powell is going to make bulls buy more stocks probably every single time until he grows a pair. Stops lying to all of us. I'd even go as far to say friggin' Jerome Powell probably goes the day before, looks at the data that's coming out, and then goes, okay, let's change that just a little bit. Don't make it as bad. Make it pretty good. And then I can come out and say, see, the data's still in line. You know what I'm saying? So Jerome Powell will cause the market most likely to go up as long as he keeps saying the same thing. Staying vague, saying we're dependent on data. If we're dependent on data and PCE comes out as good for the market and he reaffirms that, you're going to see positive behavior. Justin, yeah. No, don't look at inflation. It's transitory. Oh, don't worry about those rates going up. Inflation's not coming back. It's a good thing. Remember when they said that? It's a good thing if we see ticks up in inflation. I was like, exactly, pre-Powell pullback. Look at that. All of these big fish get to reposition right before Jerome Powell gives them their next cookie. But we got to make sure that it's not going to be bad news this time, okay? That's why we're still paying attention to potential downside. The downturn, the black swan can happen anytime. Okay, so 880 for Nvidia. If you lose that, you start breaking through 840, It's very, very bad. You can head down towards 763. You lose that, well, then we're probably heading towards 570, okay? So it is not a time to mess around and be like, oh, it's not going to happen because Jerome Powell's talking. What if a black swan happens while he's talking? You know, that could happen. I need those rates to come down for my riskiest options. Well, I'm telling you right now, those rates are probably coming down pretty fast. If TLT can confirm this and really get to positive territory here, like, look, we gap up once we go positive here. And then look at this. If this crosses up, remember, we are good with TLT. We targeted 8250, like way back here. We targeted 8250. That's where I bought the TLT. And boom, that thing just starting to skyrocket. Look at that. That can happen again, which tells you, why are these rates going to have to come down dramatically all of a sudden? That's probably not good. That's what I would say. Dollar still creeping higher. Still just creeping. Creep. Oh, come on. You guys had to watch the other guys. Yeah, Sean, I'll take a look at it for you. Tesla. Daily divergence. We could see some positivity here with Jerome Powell, maybe. Is Tesla telling us this? For the longest time, we've been pointing out this divergence before it confirmed. If you create a divergence somewhere around 154.78, go to 159, we see that start to confirm. Now, can it go positive? That's the big deal. So I'm a very firm believer, Reese, in still, even though things are fishy in this market, creating good habits. Okay, so a good habit would be, let's even take Nvidia for instance. Okay, we know that it most likely comes down to something like 880. Maybe I want to look at an hourly because it's closer to positive territory. I know that if it curls up into positive territory on the hourly, well, what happened right here? Well, the price of Nvidia went from $900 all the way up to 967. That's a 67-point move there. Okay, so if this drops down to 880, gets a reaction off the 20, and I see this curl up, cross on the MACD, I can assume, hey, that positivity could continue. And so then I would say, okay, now I have a reason to take a trade. I want a couple more to take a trade. Jerome Powell's been bullish. You can say that's a reason. Maybe because it's so risky right now, you want 5 reasons. We talk about that in the course as well. A minimum of 3 reasons to take a trade. And we give you those reasons in the course, like some reasons that you could come up with. You have to say, good liquidity in here, curls up on MACD, still a positive trend above the 20 at that point, curls up, gonna test this high, gonna go make a new one. We have a bunch of calls at 1,000. If those stay there, maybe they know something about tomorrow we don't. Maybe they know something about next week that we don't. I don't know. When we're pushed down on TLT before the weakness in the economy data comes through. Push down on TLT. And you can do technicals on TLT, like a 1 hour here. You're noticing this divergence start to form. Maybe a 30 minutes a little cleaner. Yeah, so this is pretty clean. Actually, if you trade TLT, I traded this one a lot. This trade I took on TLT was actually one of my biggest ones. I think I took a trade on TLT, a little 2-week play. I was like, oh, this looks like a good setup. It was a 2-hour divergence. And I was like, this looks like a good setup. The next day, literally, I took it for like 2 to 3 weeks out. The next day, it went down by like 5% or something like that, or it went up by 5%. I don't remember which direction it was. And I think I put like $5,000 behind it, and it was worth like $13,000. I was like, oh. So like this, the technicals on TLT are pretty good, is what I would say. Actually, a lot of the time, it's sometimes cleaner than the overall market. Okay, so you see it curl up, positive territory, boom. Okay, here's what I would say now. Down here, you didn't fully get that divergence, but you see it on the RSI, the MACD right here, this behavior here. This is where you could say, okay, this is actually where I bought a little bit. Now it's seeing this move up. Now I can start to look at this the other direction and say, if this 30-minute confirms, right, I see this dip down, I can get out of that position, look for a 2-hour. If that 2-hour curls over, guess what? It could go negative and then give me some kind of divergence here, and maybe I get a 30-minute divergence in this move as well. So a bunch of stuff to pay attention to. If you take the course, you'll probably know a little bit more of what I'm talking about. Oh, Palantir. We haven't looked at Palantir in a little while. Ooh, yeah, this is gonna be a 30-minute divergence. Oh, geez. Okay, that's not good for Palantir, going negative with the possible double top, a little bit higher here, but pretty much a double top at this point. Divergence up here, divergence down here. Almost flat on the RSI though, so this could just be a pullback. Maybe we actually make one more push higher in this overall move before that rips down. But as it goes negative, you just want to look at the 2-hour. Be like, is this going to cross over? Looks like it will, but you still have some time, right? You want to pay attention to the next 2-hour bar. If this thing starts to trickle up, it's going to reject that and go more positive. But this would make a lot of sense, right? What if we do this? What if we come down to this area with the 2-hour rolling over? We do something like this, set up a divergence, and then get a more sustainable bounce. That's what I would be looking for on Palantir. Something I'll pay attention to. I haven't looked at Palantir in a while. Rivian, I know people are paying attention to Rivian too. This is one I've traded before. So I'll look at this real quick. I traded this way back though, way back. Okay, so head and shoulders on Rivian. First of all, boom, you see it. Boom, boom, boom. You see the head and shoulders could keep falling down, but this right here on the 2-hour telling you there's a little divergence here that just confirmed. So it can go positive. It's right next to positive territory. Maybe we see a move up to test this high up here around $13. So something to look at there. Ooh, TMF. I haven't really played with that too much. This one here, just because anything that's leveraged, if you look on the daily, usually that means it has a decay in it. Okay, so if it has a decay, I don't think I've ever looked at this, so this is weird. I looked at it at some point, but you see the decay in it, so it will most likely always be coming down. Like you see the big pops up in here, but throughout the period of time here, it's going to just struggle. You really just want to get in, get out, probably if it's a 3x leverage on the 20-year here. But you see it has divergence down here. You might want to just look for something else like, let's see, bull 3x 20-year. Okay, so you might want to go look at like a 20 or something and be like, what am I seeing? Well, I'm seeing this head and shoulders. It could roll over. I'm seeing TLT that's crossing to the upside. Good potential here. Yeah, Mara, we were looking at. Look at that thing buy back up. Look at that thing buy back up. This is where we weren't necessarily worried. We're still within our flag at this point, and we could be getting just a very slanted head and shoulders in that flag, right? So we could see some kind of reaction up to here and then get that more solid flag up here, kind of like a cup handle situation before we actually want to go higher on Mara. How do you check? You can probably look at the flow, right? You can look at it, but overall, I just check after hours. I don't really pay attention to that during market hours. I can just assume that they're getting out of those positions, but if I see those, when I wake up tomorrow, if I see those on the max pain, then I'll be like, okay, those were sold out. Now I have to be worried because now there's not that much bullishness in there. But does a squeeze the other way? If those 1,000 calls are still there, is that some big dog that knows something that we don't? It could be, but right now I just use it as points of support and points of resistance. All right, let's see if this 15-minute actually curls up. Remember, going on into tomorrow, we could still just continue to flag out, and then we see that reaction down, little pop at the end of the day on Thursday, maybe creating a divergence down here. So tomorrow we're going to put out that Patreon video that's only available on Patreon. It's a great time to join, guys, if you want to get those weekly ranges for every stock that we cover on this channel, and we're adding to that once we hit 100 members. So each one of you that joins, you get us closer to 100 members, and then we can start to add some more like Microsoft, Google, and we're going to add one more that you get to pick on Patreon. We're going to have a vote for it, okay? So it could be SMCI, we could be anything like that. I don't think I have. I don't think I've looked at this before. I always like bouncing around looking at different stocks. I knew this would be a penny stock. I just knew you were going to send me a penny stock. You have divergence down here, but remember, this is pretty much a penny stock at this point, really getting beat down. You're below the 200, so you can't put too much in this. It could just be a pullback. Now, if you take this and it goes like this, it bases out, goes like that, it starts to go positive, then it can look really good. So if you know a lot about this, right? You do have actually technically like a triple divergence almost down here on the MACD, right? So you're getting closer to the center line, but who's to say that's not going to do this, this, and then go? So if you wanted to, maybe this is an area where if you've done your research on this, you can say, hey, I am comfortable holding this at this level for a long time. Hey, that's all right. Newer ones are cool to look at. But it's cool to look at, right? You always want to be this is when you want to be looking for those possible investments. There's a stat out there, I can't remember what it was, but it's like if you just have $10,000 and you put $1,000 into a bunch of stocks that are kind of like new or whatever, biotech or something like that, well then this thing goes to $100. Well, you caught that move. So once you do have extra money like that, you can invest in things like this with little amounts. So SQQQ, one thing I would say is it depreciates. So if you're going, I totally understand holding that for even a few months here. Like you could probably hold that a little longer, but just know that as the Qs go higher and higher, Kyle, thank you for subscribing. As the Qs go higher, it also depreciates. So when it drops like this, okay, the SQQQ is going to go up pretty rapidly, right? 3 times leverage. But if it just does this and then goes sideways for say like weeks, well, then this whole move will start to go like that over time because it depreciates. Okay, so pretty much if you see a big move like this, might take profit on SQQQ and then look for that to dip down, right? So what you want to pay attention to here is if I see the daily crossover, okay, I take SQQQ, now I just made, say, 10%, and then I see that bounce cross up into positive territory. I'm out of SQQQ. I see that curl back down. Now I can take the curl down again, take that again for another week or two, see that happen. You kind of just play it on the way down, but you want to use the Qs to do your technicals. But yeah, just to show that, by the way, just to show that so you guys understand what I'm saying. Look at it. It's always going down. It's always going down. If I just keep zooming out, it is always going down. They will always split it and keep it going down. It depreciates. It has a decay in it. Sorry, I say depreciates. It's not appreciation, it's decay. That is a bullish sign for Apple, though, just so we're very clear. It's a bullish sign to reject the crossing of the MACD to the downside at this point. And you're getting a slightly higher low. Look at that. I mean, here you had your higher low, higher low, higher high, higher high. Now you have slightly lower, 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 lower. And now we're basing out. Could we actually go like that? How much time does you can finish it in a weekend, and I would highly encourage you watching certain things twice. I say it in the course a couple times, but it literally can take you a day to get through. I like to keep things simple. I try to make it very simply, and I think it was Dave. Dave came in and he was like, I really like the course. A big thing I wanted to make was simple. Simple answers are very good in the market. Being calm in the market is very, very good, and just following the stream, right? Trading like water and using these tools that I give you in the course, you know, with the weekly ranges, especially if you're on Patreon with the weekly ranges, which in the course, I give you a little way you can do it. It's just not the most accurate if you want to look at it for other stocks as well. So it's not like I'm just going to only give you the ranges for these. I give you a way to at least create a good range. I would say a good one. I create great ranges is what I would say. But it is a good range. I've used it before, and there is a method to do it on Robinhood, so I just taught you guys that with my little fun account. I've never used the TTM squeeze indicator along with MACD and RSI to confirm breakouts. I genuinely haven't, so I don't want to comment on it, Robert. Military base, once in a lifetime opportunity for me. It would be $8 an hour raise. This would be my chance to be more financially stable. Ken, that is fantastic. And you need to know that if you are interested in getting into trading and you want to learn about this stuff, take the course. But also $8 an hour, that is awesome. We are so proud of you. That is so cool. And the reason I'm mentioning the course is because now you have the ability, with being paid more, to just save cash, as cash is getting more valuable during this. And you may not even want to be a part of trading in this. Now, if you take the course and you're confident with it, maybe you work with me on a one-on-one or something like that. But, we can talk about those things. We can get you trading, but focus on that job. Maybe look at investing after all this is done, because we could see much lower prices in a lot of very high value names. We're already seeing lower prices on Apple and Tesla and things like that. Imagine if you could get Apple for like $80. Like, that would be amazing. And the fact that you have now worked hard, you've gotten that position, once in a lifetime opportunity. Congratulations. That is so awesome. Make sure to just keep saving up that cash. Cash is going to be very, very valuable for a while here. Not really even 50-50. I would say I trade probably options. I use about 20%, but I won't use the full 20%. You know what I mean? And then investing wise, TLT is the only thing I'm really holding to alongside right now. So I have a lot of cash sitting on the side. I go in an hour. Ken, you're going to do fantastic. Come on, man. Yeah, we go over some timings of when to get into those options and things too. 401k plan, which I think is about 6% match. Yeah, as long as they're matching, 401k is not bad. I am not a fan of 401ks unless there's a match. So my old job had 401k, but they had no match. So I was like, why would I do that? I like being in control of my money. So I don't do 401k or anything like that while I've been really working. I've been just doing it myself. I've been like, why would I do a 401k? It's so hard. You have to take like a 10%, 15% ding to get your money out. I know that my parents, when I told them to sell at the very top of Bitcoin, the very top of the market before that correction a couple years back, they had like hundreds of thousands of dollars, and I think it went down by like 30-40% at the end of the day. And then it hasn't even reached back to the high there. And that's where I'm like, I told you, you got to move it out of there. Move your own money. But if they're matching, very, very good. 5 years experience in water operations, but I only have 3 years of water and 13 years of wastewater experience. So the guy at my church that recommended, he said, with my high. Yeah, that's awesome. And you're just using your skills to keep finding the next thing. There's actually a study that says, the people who keep gaining those skills and change their job every like 3 years actually end up making more money than someone who stays with a business for 20 years. It's kind of crazy, but as long as you're always looking for the better opportunity, then maybe this is something that's a very high opportunity and you want to stay there. I get that. I'm just mentioning that yeah, that is a thing, apparently, that the people who have the skills are good workers and are always looking for better pay, better opportunity, make more money, apparently, if they trade out of their job every 3 years and look for a raise with another company. 401k is a scam. Maintain access to your money, build generational wealth. That's overall my take on it, Drake, in a nutshell. You summed it up a lot better than me. Do you think Russell small caps can rally next year like Fangs and Chips have in the last year? Well, we can look at, say, IWM or something and just see if this is going to do anything. Let's go to like a weekly scale, okay? So if this rolls back down, right, we want to see what was the behavior like in the last, say, recession, okay? So what was it, 2020 going into March, right? Well, look what happened to small caps. Boom, it came way down. So what I'm overall thinking with IWM is, because I think that this could actually drop back down to that level, and that's where it bases out. If we see that, bear market, that big correction, okay? So that's what I would pay attention to. Now, how could you know that this big pop was coming? Well, look at this. We have divergence here. We have a divergence from these lows over to this low, divergence from this low over to this low. You can see these pops, and then you play these little zones. Now we're busting through that zone. The funny thing about that is it's giving us that daily divergence right by negative territory. So you'd have to say small caps, as far as IWM, has the opportunity to come down to this zone again if it wants to break down. You see this vertical move kind of making that wedge get a little tight there. But I would say I would say it's most likely going to be a good opportunity if we just see it pull back and we don't go into recession this year. But I think the probability of something breaking is very, very high. Rally or sell more tomorrow depends. Depends by end of day, and most likely on YouTube, you guys will hear my opinion on this. Obviously, I try to give both sides, and then I usually lean one way or give my opinion and make sure you know that's my opinion. Let's see. I don't know how good it is to compare the price drops to the start of the pandemic response in 2020, or if it would be more accurate to compare the start of inflation periods in October of 2022. Well, the point is, I'm more comparing it not to what happened with COVID. I'm comparing it to we went into recession with the yield curve uninverting in 2020 for just a brief moment, just a very brief moment we did, and therefore you can compare the two. Something that you might want to compare this to as well might be something like 2008 or something like that. And we can do that maybe on this weekend's video. We'll compare it to 2008 and things like that. So my trading style, I really like the 30-minute, guys. I really like the 30-minute. The 30-minute is overall what I've used the most, I would say overall. But I pay attention to 30-minute, 2-hour, and daily for my trades. As of right now, I'm using the daily to kind of look for, because, this is an uptrend and we're seeing a bunch of, divergences that are saying there's weakness here. I'm still just paying attention to my 30-minute charts. I really like them. Okay, 30-minute charts are great. We come down into a point where there should be some support. I see that curl up into positive territory. Well, I said you can deny the 401k, so I mean technically I could just do my own my Robinhood account and just buy for long term on my own, I guess, not mess with options, just keep DCAing. And yeah, so what I would say is keeping that cash on the side would be a good thing at this point, and just making that money over time. That's just how I would do it personally. Wait till you have some money built up. I don't know how much you're working with at this point, but overall, it's just cash is going to be so valuable. But if you learn how to trade this, a lot of what you're going to learn in the course you'll want to pay attention to it, but you can use it on those daily scales as well. You might be able to take the course, find out when we got that Apple trade, right? So this Apple trade, which everyone was saying Apple's going to burn down to the ground, this is where our last big Apple trade was, right here. And if you go through the course, this is what we go through for the most part, is a situation like this, where it's just, okay, we see 3 lows here, we see triple divergence, while everyone, literally right here, everyone was saying the stock market is going to crash. We were some of the only people that were like, Apple's telling you that the stock market's about to boom. Look at that, it booms. So what you can do is, with the course, it's only $100 this week, you can really start to just find things like this, so you don't have to pay attention to too many short time frames. You wait to see some kind of, divergence down here, and then you say, okay, now let me, for today, go into a 2-hour. What do we notice about the 2-hour? Well, it gave us divergence at this point right here. So maybe you say, hey, I'm going to take a trade here because that goes up like this, and then say that goes positive. I have that daily divergence down here. Boom, look at that. You offer live trades? Not necessarily, no. Not at this point. And I don't necessarily day trade either. Now, if my stock makes a good move in one day, say Apple right on the 15-minute here, I still take 2 weeks out, because then I can save myself if something weird happens. I've been in this market long enough to know that nothing goes straight up, and things can really make you lose money even by just going sideways. If I said, oh, I'm going to take a big call up here and then this goes sideways, I lose value in that. So what I do is I say, okay, I'm going to take a little bit here, see if this trickles up. All right, I don't see any V here really, so this could come back down. I'm not going to get out. I'm just going to say, okay, let me see if this can give me another point of divergence here. Boom, I can take another position there. Boom, I can take another position on the breakout, and then I see that positivity come in. I don't have Discord at this moment. We might implement that at the end of April, just because we'll need a way to do the one-on-ones. Patreon is $7 a month. It's never going to increase. $7 a month. It will never increase. The course can benefit you in day trading. We've actually done this before. You can use it on multiple time frames. Just you're going to see crazier things happen. But say Meta. Okay, Meta day trading wise, what were we seeing down here? Well, Meta broke down pretty dramatically, right? Meta broke down pretty dramatically at this point when we were overall stating, hey, here's that weekly expected move. This is something you'll learn in the course. Well, this is happening very, very early on in the week. Meta is saying, this is as far down as I'm supposed to go the entire week. I have a 68% chance to bounce. Boom, look what happened by the end of the week. If you just hold for 2 days even, you can see that big move. What I would just say is, look at your 5 minutes if you're trying to day trade. 15 minutes are good. But I would try to give yourself not necessarily 0 DTE, but maybe at least another day because some wonky stuff could happen. It's down in the description, Syed. Option on Robinhood, not risky. Options on Robinhood can be. You don't get the best price because I use that for my fund trades, right? I use just a Robinhood account. And overall, they charge you a little piece too. It's not the best price in the world. But I mean, it's been profitable. It's been, as long as you're good at this stuff, it's not enough to really affect you too much. But yeah, it's down in the description below. I'm picking the timing or entries better, so I'll do it then, but I want to wait till I know if I have the job. That's yeah, Ken. That is very, very diligent of you. I respect that. Sean Monroe, thank you so much for joining the channel. Really appreciate all the subscribers we've gotten today. All the Lukes, all the Kyles, Gian, I hope I'm still saying your name right somehow. Sean, thank you so much for joining. Really appreciate you guys and everyone smashing that like button. Fantastic today. I can't help, but what trapped you? I was kind of trolling. One of my trades is trapped. But that's something that I'm playing for a couple of weeks, so I'm not too worried about it. I'll show you guys what I'm trapped in right now. I actually took ARM, and I'm just trapped. I might look at getting out of this soon, but I really wanted this to break to the upside, so I played the break to the upside, and then I had to... and then this is how busy I am. I got so busy yesterday that I couldn't pay attention to this. You know what I mean? So I couldn't pay attention to the last hour. So then I saw that just roll over, and I quickly on my computer just took a screenshot and posted on Patreon before this happened that there could be weakness. But I thought maybe we'd see that ballistic move first. And so this is where I'm trapped, but I'm holding it for a couple of weeks. So I'm seeing if it can buy back up so I don't lose that much. You got the phonics in my name. Hey, awesome. Yeah, my dad works with a lot of people from a lot of different names. I'll put it that way. A lot of people from Middle East, Greece, all kinds of Europe. He does a lot of work with them over there. He owns a computer recycling company. My dad does. So we deal with a lot of people. He sells to China, or not China. Sometimes Singapore, things like that. Sometimes. But yeah, so he works with a lot of guys that sound like, I don't know, what are some of their names? Pushti. We call them Pushti. People like that. And they're great people, honestly. What is the thing I love that they always bring? Oh my god, it's like a sweet thing. I think it's like Greek or something. Or something. Or maybe it's Lebanese. Shit, what's something sweet that's almost like a like that breakfast, like a croissant? Oh god, I can't think. Baklava. Yes, baklava, Tina. Ooh, soju. Okay, soju. We're going hard. Baklava is very, very good. I love it. There's a place, actually, if you're near Oklahoma, we'll drive to Oklahoma. We'll drive hours to go get it. It is so good. But yeah. Baklava is very, very good. I really like it. And then we have great Mediterranean food here as well. Just came from Lebanon and brought some with me. Yeah, oh, that's fantastic. And one of my good friends in college was Lebanese, so I've gotten to eat a lot of Lebanese food. Yeah, dude, if you find a good baklava place, it's great. And then another culture is food I really like, Vietnamese. I love pho. Pho is probably my favorite meal, guys. Pho is so good. It's probably my favorite. I actually, when I had my app, I did a series where I went and tried every pho in my city. So I know if you ever come to Kansas, near my city, I'll just let me know if you're in Kansas. Let me know what city you're in, and I'll give you a place to go eat some pho because it's so good. Yes, Robert. Hell yeah. Also, the best ketchup and salads. Also, you guys, apparently I say ketchup. We have a fucking place. Review, where are you at? Because I have that too. We have that too here, and it's terrible. Where in Oklahoma? I'll ask my dad, okay, Philip? I'll write a note to myself, and I'll shoot my dad a text. I'll shoot my dad a text and let you guys know tomorrow. I'll just come back and ask. Okay. I said catch up, and it bugs wifey a lot. Bro, my biggest weakness, I had risk management. Only down. My performance account nearly blown at least. I only put 60 USD into it, but nearly crashed out 2K. You know... Let me try to get this right, Aaron. Did you put in 60K? Or only 60 US dollars and you got up to 2K? 160 to 2K? Or I gotta understand that better. Still holding above the 24 AMD. We're gonna go for about, let's say, 10 more minutes here, and then I gotta hop off for the day. This is the crash you guys looking for? No. No, no, we're not looking for a crash. We're above the 20, dude. So, no, this would be a little bit more worrisome, but right now, I think this will hold up at the 20. See that curl back up. Maybe if it breaks 895, where's the next big leg down? Well, you really want to pay attention to 880, actually. I think 880 is a big point to pay attention to, and then 840 after that, going to be big. But I think we just dink off the 20 here. Taylor, I love your Pikachu picture. I got Squirtle on my arm, Taylor. Here, look. Here, I'll show you guys. Get it in front of the camera. Turn my... Look at Squirtle. Squirtle Squad. Pretty sick, right? I can't wait. I'm going to do my arm. Yeah, Taylor, if you see some bearish thumbnails and things like that, make sure to click into the video. We're not always bearish. I'm just stating that this is a crash signal, right? This is a crash signal, but until we break through the 20, that's when we can be overly bearish, like a little bit more bearish. Your long Pokemon cards. Euro close may cause the market to drop a bit more too. It's very, very possible when trading. Do you trade the 5-minute or 1-minute watch? No, I don't trade on the 1 minute. I don't do day trading for the most part, but you can use a lot of what I do to day trade, right? So like look at Microsoft. So something that you could look at here, not necessarily for today, but going into tomorrow. Down here, we were stating, hey, there could be a 5-minute divergence that starts to confirm down here maybe, or a 15-minute divergence. And we just, well, let me see. Is it on the 15-minute divergence? So you can pay attention to a 5 and 15 and look at what's going to maybe happen tomorrow. We gave you the risk ranges, which is something we use on this channel, which just means that this is all the options market priced in for Microsoft. Now it's reaching the end of it before the close on Thursday, which tells you with divergence, you could get a good solid pop. So if you wanted like a little, little beginner's slam into my course that's down below, that's $100 for 4 more days. 4 more days, $100. You can just learn stuff like this, and you can use it pretty well. Risk management, always my downfall. And we go over that a little bit, especially, are you doing options, Aaron? 6 hours I'm past their evaluation. Then on the real account, I made 1,500, but I just nearly blown it all today holding the motherfucker drop. Yeah, I would just say risk management, something that we've been going over a lot on this channel as far as what's helped a lot of people. I think Robert might attest to this just a little bit. And Tina, you're welcome. But trading like water. We know that this environment, we see how the dailies look. Okay, so you look at the daily. What does it look like for Microsoft? It looks like this could confirm a triple divergence. So something you'll learn on the course, right? You don't mess around with things like this. It doesn't mean we have to crash. right? It doesn't mean we have to crash. It means this is a point where it could happen, though. So I want to pay attention to it. This is a point where we could go into a negative trend for a correction or a crash. So that tells me if I'm taking any kind of smaller trades, I just want to be careful if those are calls. I want to be a little careful. And that doesn't mean you can't take trades, but it's a point to be careful, manage that risk, which means trade a little bit less, take profit a little bit earlier. Does that overall get it? Is the course a live class? No. I mean, it is a video class. It's a video course, so I am talking to you the entire time. It's not just some book or something. I think Friday they don't change their tone. They haven't changed their tone in a long time. The only reason I'm saying something fishy could be happening here is because of this guy. TLT ripping. If this starts to break to the upside, then those rates are going to be forced to come down, and the Fed might be forced to do something, or something in the system could already be broken. So that's the only reason I'm worried going into Friday, really, is TLT. Other than that, you just have Nvidia maybe pulling back to the 20. Like, that's not something unheard of. We talked about this in the YouTube video last night, 20. Talked about this, 20. Talked about right around here, we kind of come around the 20. What are we doing now? We're kind of coming around the 20. We can see that turn around. Just want to be careful over the weekend. You guys don't ruin your weekend or anything like that, because you could take a play. If you're not trading futures, you could take a play. That's just ruined over the weekend, and it's just not the best, because we said, trade like water, but pay attention to the rocks that are in the stream. Right now, you do have a rock in the stream. It's Jerome Powell talking. It's PCE on Friday. So that tells you, okay, I need to be able to pay attention to, which way the stream is going after we receive that data, and then go with that stream. So that would tell me as a technical trader, maybe I don't want to trade going into Friday. Maybe I don't want to take anything going into the long weekend, because if I'm not trading futures, I can't do anything. I literally have to sit there and watch my money go down. Something's been broken in the system for a while. They just have been kicking the can down the road, and they said it themselves. I think they told you what the problem's going to be. They literally said it. It was the last time Jerome Powell talked. Some banks will fail. Yeah, banks will fail, but yeah, banks will fail. Come on. Banks fail, that's a bad thing, especially if a bunch of them fail at the same time. So Reese, I think he keeps a similar tone. Very vague, very dependent on data, but everything looks good. We're going towards our price target. We just don't want to make any decisions too fast. We don't want inflation to come back, and we don't want a recession, soft landing still on the table. It's a bunch of BS. But yeah, the course itself, you will be with me, Tina. Like I talk to you, and then I give you my email multiple times so that you can ask me some questions. And people have emailed me asking questions, and that's perfectly fine. I think maybe it was Robert. I've just been so busy with baby girl, but I have what I'm going to say about, he wanted just a little bit more about when to get out of the trade. So I'm going to add a specific video to just that. Because we talk about scaling into the trade, and we talk briefly about getting out of the trade, but I want to make sure you have it solid, like what I would do type thing. When I get out of the interview around 2 p.m. Central Time. Ken, I'll tell you what, I will be live tomorrow, and I would love to hear about it. I gotta probably do our little breakdown here. It seems like he would probably keep it until 2025. And that's very possible that we just get a correction soon, and then we see actually us hit new all-time highs by October. That was my original assessment going into about December, January, was this would last into the next October, being 2024's October. But now that I'm seeing where stocks are at, we have potential for this to actually crash down. Now, this could be a correction. We're still going to trade, right? I said it's going to be a bear market. So a correction would look kind of like a bear market. You might get bounces and things like that. We can trade it like that as long as volatility is pretty high. But Ken, come back tomorrow. Tomorrow, first thing in the morning, come back here. Let me know how it went. I'm genuinely interested. I'm very excited for you. Like, anytime you guys have good news, like, share that good news with us here, because that is awesome. And I want you to go in. You're probably nervous. You're like, this is a big deal. This is an interview. Just know to yourself, like, hey, I earned this interview. Go with that mentality. I earned this interview, and it's going to go great. Look at yourself in the mirror. I know it's weird, but I do it after good trades. So I'm going to tell you guys something I do after a good trade. Ken, I'll leave you with this. Before you go into your interview, go look in the mirror to yourself and be like, you got this interview and you're going to kill it. You're going to do a great job, and then give yourself a high five in the mirror. Give yourself a high five in the mirror, go crush the interview, and then go to the bathroom again, look in the mirror again, and be like, I just crushed that interview. High five yourself again. And if they don't give you the position, at least you know, like, I did a good job. Follow it up with a good cry. No, that's what we do when we poop. You guys don't cry when you poop? Come on now. See, look, Drake's all there for you. Crush it, Ken. You got this, man. Congratulations, man. That is so, so awesome. Nvidia moving sideways. A good time to lower that average. I mean, it's moving sideways. So what I was really paying attention to, 15-minute, I was going to see if this flags out today. We could flag out even going on into tomorrow, see that drop, and then see that pop right at 80. Okay, so I'm going to pay attention to tomorrow as well, where that 20 is lining up with tomorrow. See if that's where we see a reaction, but we've held up above it before. Review says, good luck, Ken. You got this. All right, let's do a little breakdown of all the stocks because I gotta start moving here. Something interesting here, it still looks pretty controlled on the selling side for the SPY. Look for this 30-minute. If it wants to go positive, we still have some structure if we want to head higher, right? We can come up at where this gap was started from, see something like this happen, go a little bit higher, but really want that 30-minute to go positive territory, right? And then most likely we're actually going to set up some kind of 30-minute divergence in the future with the nearest price action. Okay, so I'd pay attention to that. I'd say next week we're probably going to be paying attention to the upside range unless we start to lose the 20, right? You know, thumbnails, all that stuff can look bearish, right? We can look at that, but we want to pay attention because this is a time to pay attention. You see all the divergences. This is a time where something crazy can happen, but in order for something crazy to happen, well, during this run, we have to lose this 20-day moving average. We haven't lost that yet. Okay, so we could come down this week and test that 20 and then start to move up again. We just want to pay attention to our 30 minutes and our 2 hours, seeing if these can curl up. You see the 2 hours still in positive territory. So even though this is moving down, it looks like the wonkiest flag in the world at this point, but that curls up. You might get a little 2-hour divergence, which might have a 30-minute divergence inside it. So we can pay attention to that. Going on into next week, I would really mark off April 10th. Where the heck is that? April 10th, right? Because April 10th, way over here, that's when we get CPI data. Now the Qs, similar story, right? See if that can curl back up. I actually think the Qs look a little bit better here, right? We have possible left head and right shoulder forming, and we're seeing that curl up as of right now. We'll see if that happens fully. But you see the base in here, left head. What if we make a right shoulder and we go up into next week? So see if this is able to curl up. Could be a positive thing. Apple, great trade. Triple divergence technically down here on the MACD and RSI at the same time at these lows. So Apple not able to break through this level, kind of a hint that some positivity was still left in the market. Now we want to see if this 15-minute rolls over. Does that consolidate and head higher for another push, giving us a 15-minute divergence or something like that? But really the 30-minute cross, I just want to see, is this 2-hour able to see some positivity? So I'm expecting, based on my divergences, the 2-hour to see some positivity here. Kind of hard when you're down in negative territory. So you really want this to see some strength, go positive here. Do we create a double top up in here in the future? We'll have to see. But this might be a prolonged move all the way up into, you know, CPI or something like that. So be a little cautious out there. Remember Friday, we do have that news. 2-hour divergence, right, on the MACD, not necessarily on the RSI, but we want to, on the MACD, but not on the RSI. We want to pay attention to this just because there's daily divergence on Tesla. Okay, so Tesla, you can see the positivity coming back in, going above our weekly expected move again. Could this see some positive moves here? If you don't know, this is just because they're giving a monthly free trial for these self-driving capabilities to Tesla users, to new Tesla buyers as well. And so we could see positivity come in here. If we go positive territory, we can see a big move. Okay, so how this would head up over time if we're going to just keep seeing positivity in the market or a rotation into Tesla, boom, we come up to this zone. That's a sell zone. We come back down, then we curl back up. So that would give you the left, the head, the right shoulder to head higher. Am I leaning towards that? Not necessarily. I think we have a good shot that if we just come up to this area and fade back down, we could curl back down in negative territory, which just tells you negativity is coming. But I'm open to this scenario playing out. I'm not too bullish. I'm not too bearish. Amazon, this rejected the crossing, came down, still riding that 5. Really trying to ride that 5. Something on the shorter time frame. I think it's a 30-minute. We can see a bunch of cups, a bunch of handles. But pretty much at this point now, you're creating a little bit of a range, right? So you want to see if it breaks to the upside, breaks to the downside, see that curl back up into positive territory. What does that mean? Well, we're going to probably see some positivity. Okay, so you got a bunch of cups and handles. We were expecting this. Actually, we drew this out before it happened, this right shoulder, saying, hey, we get a reaction to here, then we dip down over like this. We get that positivity. Well, now you're getting that cup to fully complete kind of at this area. Now, is this just some kind of consolidation handle to actually head higher? And we'll check the VIX at the end here. Nvidia, just see if this is able to curl up and go positive. If you're not flagging, you want to see this vertical. You want to see a V shape. So you want to see positivity, consolidation, positivity to get into positive territory. If we keep flagging like this, you're most likely heading down to test that 20-day moving average, which is right around 880. AMD, this is one we didn't want to break down very much, right? The hourly here, yes, it curled over, but no, we didn't take out this area here. So if you took a play here and you're like, okay, now it's starting to reverse, you might say, okay, now it's starting to look like it wants to curl up into positive territory, get some kind of reaction targeting maybe this gap fill up here. Now, if we want to head down, remember, this is great liquidity that we can use to head down at this point. So if we get some kind of big pop and then that drops off into this area, we can use this to head down. EMA cross, not necessarily. Most likely, if an EMA crosses like this one here, I'm already in a trade. So most likely I'm already in this trade, to be honest, before that happens. So I'm just going to say that. You know, what's the best way to put it? I don't necessarily trade based on that. But I would say like with the SPY, just for a quick little thing here, like with the SPY, I've looked at this for long enough to know 90% of the time when the 5-day crosses the 20-day, you test bottom Bollinger, and same the other way. So you notice all these times we're not able to cross, therefore we don't touch bottom Bollinger. Well, let's look in the past here. Okay, look at this one here. It crosses on this bar right here. If I'm to the put side, because this just crossed into negative territory on the daily, let's say I buy some puts here. Well, I know now that cross, so I can test the bottom Bollinger. Boom, what do? We go to bottom Bollinger. What do? We go down and sideways till we fully catch up. We see that reaction happens again. So that's something you can pay attention to. You'll notice as it crosses to the upside, we almost get there. We're very, very close. But it crosses back down again on this bar actually right here is where that cross happened. Boom, we go to bottom Bollinger. So you can use it like that, but most of the time I'm already in a trade before that has happened. And you only want to do that on the daily scale. I'll try. I apologize. Give me 1 sec. Let me get through the rest of these. Where are we at? We did Amazon. We did Nvidia. We looked at AMD. Let's look at Meta. This is a new one that's on the Patreon, right? So we just added this to the Patreon. We gave you the monthly here on YouTube, right? We gave you the monthly, and we're just paying attention. It's testing the 20. Let's see if that can break to the upside now. See if this closes below the 20. That could mean, hey, we're going to test this level down here. Okay, so this level down here, is that going to be consolidation, to head higher? We'll have to see. But right now, you'd want to say it wants to hold above the 20-day moving average, starting to curl up as of right now in a good point of liquidity, so we can pay attention to that going forward. All right, now you still want this to get positive in order to see that positivity. I want to keep saying that. The 2-hour here crossing down, if this can just curl back up, we're going to see another good move, maybe create a divergence going on into next week, right around that monthly. But we're going to update these monthlies later. Microsoft, we were talking about this one, 2-hour divergence up here, able to confirm, so that means we have to pay attention to a daily, right? We have to see if this daily can cross. That would be a very, very bad signal for Microsoft. Am I leaning towards that? No, actually, I'm not thinking that'll happen. Why? Because I know that I gave you guys the weekly expected moves for this. That would be 437.82 to the upside, 419.84 to the downside. What do I see? Divergence. And we have a whole day left to trade. Okay, so we have flatness of the MACD, a divergence on the RSI. If this curls up from right here, we can see a positive move, all right? How that would head up, right? Head and shoulders, boom, grab liquidity in that area. That'd make a lot of sense. So that's overall how we do things around here. You notice I'll already be in a move before those moving averages cross on the daily scale. You can find reversals. Like, it depends on how big of a reversal you're looking for. If you're looking for reversal and trend on a 30-minute, you look for 30-minute divergences. If you're looking for reversal and trend on a 2-hour, you look for 2-hour divergences. Daily, you're looking for daily divergences. And we talk about when you see them all at the same time in the course, and that's a very, very good section. Google here, this is going to be a great trade. I'm just saying, this has a 30-minute. So this is one we're going to add to the Patreon once we hit 100 members on there. 30-minute divergences. Able to go negative at this point, but could just curl right back up. Torben, thank you so much for subscribing today. Could curl back up and make another point. Now that would get you even closer to negative territory. So this could be a very good trade setup. Google giving you a 30-minute divergence. Guess what? On the 2-hour, you see the 2-hour divergence already confirmed. Maybe we get another push higher, get a triple divergence, or that rejects with that 30-minute divergence, rolling the 2-hour down. And then you can say, oh, even on the daily here, what do I got? If I have here, as of right now, lower high, but if we make one more move higher, come and test this level, you'd have a double top with divergence at the same time. So this will be a very, very good trade setup that we will most likely put out on Patreon once we see a good time to start to pay attention, maybe look for an entry. Exit strategy, I go based on not necessarily an expected move. I take profit at expected moves. Sometimes, like my weekly expected moves, not like if I have a triangle and it's supposed to break this much. I will take profit based on if I like the amount of money that I've made. I know that sounds crazy, but it has really, really helped me. Instead of being like, I'm going to wait till it gets to here. If I get a big reaction the next day, even if I have a month out play, because you guys know that's what I like to do. I take month out, 2 week out to 2 month out plays. And what I like to do is I say, hey, this is an environment where if I make 50 to 100% very quickly, I'm just going to get out. I'm going to look for the next trade. There's tons of trade setups, right? I have this divergence up here. If I would have just took this, boom, it would come down pretty quick. Maybe I make 50%, I'm out, because if this curls back up into positive, that can be pretty bad. Doesn't mean I don't have a hedge out there, right? I'm holding a hedge for about 3 months on volatility right now. But exit strategy is just like, now if let's say I took this trade here and I'm saying that's going to be the moment that it breaks down, I'm going to hold it longer term because I have 2-hour divergences, this is really going to break down. Well, then this is something we're going to put on the course as well, so make sure I'll notify you when that goes up. But if this just crosses back into positive territory, I have to say this has the potential to take out this high, so why would I stay in my put position unless I have a month out and I want to scale in at another point? Okay, so that's overall how I see it. If it curls back up in positive territory, usually I'm out, curls over again, I'm back in. Yeah, I got you. Happy Friday. Yeah, get into that right now. Let's get into it right now. The volatility, seeing that start to drop off. What I would pay attention to as well, if you get a little 30-minute divergence down here at the same time as a 2-hour divergence, this is really what I'm leaning towards. I think this 2-hour divergence is going to set up, going to come down to 12.12. And then we're going to see that curl down, curl back up, and get really close to positive territory. And I think this will be the trigger. That's why I'm really, thinking, weirdly enough, I think that we could see some volatility come very, very soon. I know we've been seeing that the traps in March, that's what we were talking about. But by the end of March, we could be in that bear market. And this is the last week of March. So maybe it trickles into April a little bit. Maybe it takes all the way to CPI. But I think that if you come down here and you see volatility, give you a 2-hour divergence, good sign that we are going to see the daily crossover. If we see the daily crossover, what happens? Well, we're pretty close to positive territory. Okay, so that could mean we could get a volatility spike. Now we have to see if that's going to be sustained. The funny thing about how volatility is behaving, I know that volatility is coming down, but look at the 50 getting closer and closer to the 200. So you want to talk about these crossing, these EMAs crossing. If the 50 crosses the 200, that is a huge crash signal. That means volatility is most likely going to stay for quite some time. You just want the 50 to remain above the 200 for quite some time, not necessarily like it did. It almost crossed right here, right? It barely almost crossed. Everyone back here might have been saying on my YouTube, like, oh, we can see that spike. No, look at this. It's coming down very dramatically here. It rejected the crossing of the 50 above the 200. So this is going to be a bullish move. And this is actually where we saw those Apple divergences, I believe, was right in here. So I was like, yeah, we're going to see a huge bullish move. That's how you can look at volatility. But the main crash indications you need You need to close above the 200. You need to remain above the 200, right? And then you need to see the 50 cross the 200 and go like that. Hopefully that was helpful. Really appreciate you guys coming by today. I'm going to leave it on Nvidia for the last bit here. Or maybe actually let's go leave it on Microsoft for a sec. See if that's actually seeing a bounce at this level, right? 15-minute divergence. We want to see what happens with this. I'm going to need to buy up a little stronger than that Microsoft, but little divergence here. So possible play coming forward for Microsoft. All right, so I just wanted to leave you guys with this. Thank you guys so much for showing up. Tons of you guys coming in here, liking, subscribing, doing all that stuff. A few people going and grabbing the courses. You have 4 days left, so really appreciate it. Like I said, email me about that if you do have any questions, and I'll notify you when we add videos to that as well. But overall, great time to join the Patreon. I'm going to give a free one-on-one at the end of April, so join sometime in the next month, and make sure to go put your name in. I'm going to pin a post up there. So I just wanted you guys to know how much I am thankful you guys are here, know how much I'm thankful that you guys are showing up, and I love talking about stocks with you guys every single day. And I apologize. Hold on one sec. I apologize if you're still here. I'm looking at it. I'm looking at it real quick. All right, so what I would say about this, look for a 15-minute divergence down here first. You don't even have a 15 on the daily scale. The 20 is right below you. So if you get that 15-minute divergence, you might come test that 20 and then actually see that go up. Just pay attention. See if this actually rolls over, crosses through the 20. At this point, could be a pullback to the 20 to actually head higher. I just wanted to say that real quick. But if that crosses, we could see something a little bit more dramatic, maybe go fill a gap. So paying attention to Microsoft as well. Just that 20 is right there, guys. This looks like a solid setup. So now we can see crazy stuff happen if we start to lose 20s and things like that. Be a little careful out there. I just wanted to just again, thank you guys so much for showing up. Really appreciate it. Thank you for joining Patreon. Thank you for taking the course. And thank you guys for sharing with me your good news, like Ken out there. Whenever you guys have good news, have a good trade, we want to celebrate you. Okay, we really do. So make sure to tell us when you have a good trade. Be excited about it. We are excited for you. It is hard to make money in the stock market, but we can try to make things a little simpler so we have a good probability of being in a positive trend. All right. Love you guys. Hope you guys have a great rest of your day. Hope you guys have all the luck in the world trading the rest of the day. And I'll see you on YouTube later. All right. And if you show up live tomorrow, I'll see you then too. Peace.